everybody, we're live coming at ya, and welcome back to UHS Presents. I'm your host, Sarah White. I've got a new guest host for this little critical appreciation series we're doing here. Julie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm very excited to be here. Thank you. I guess just to give you a quick intro about myself, I like to think I'm like most of the people watching this. I've been into comics and video games and superheroes since, I was a child. And, as a kid, getting made fun of for reading X-Men comics during recess instead of, playing sports or tanning myself on the picnic benches outside and, watching Spawn, the animated series, like when I was 12 years old, into cosplay for a long time, been to Dragon Con with Sarah once, and that was and I love horror movies. I love Monster Mania in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I'm basically a nerd who was into nerd shit before it was cool to be a nerd. So, that's pretty much all you need to know right now, I guess.
Amen. I was into nerd shit before it was cool too, and I had to keep it like super secret because otherwise I would have got shit kicked out of me in school.
Exactly.
And kind of by my family too. Like everybody was just like good old boy, down home cooking kind of people around here. And I didn't know that whole girls laying on the benches outside at school, I thought that was just a local thing. Apparently that was the whole fucking United States.
Apparently, yeah.
I don't even know, maybe the world. So if anybody's watching who is outside the country, you need to comment and tell us if that's a worldwide phenomenon or if that's just a United States thing.
Yeah, 15-year-olds trying to get a tan, whatever.
So I currently do not have any Unlikely Hero Studios news for you guys, though. Although if I do, because I've got Lori right here on speed dial here, so she's not going to be up on today because she's buried in inking work. Probably, I don't know what she's doing. I'm not her babysitter. I don't know. But we have we're kicking ass. We got the I know that the Elsewhere books are finally coming. So if you guys are waiting for that, then your wait's almost over. It's going to be great. And today, basically, what Julie, we threw this together like 2 days tops, a couple hours of our time. Like, we threw this together right at the very last second because I wanted to do it, and then I just out of the blue was like, "Hey, Julie, do you want to do this with me?" And she's like, "Oh, yes, I do." So it worked out. And so what we want to do is take a hard, critical, nitpicky look at a TV show that she and I both are like really into, which is Castlevania. And if this proves to be a popular thing, I would love it if everybody that watches would comment and tell us, as I'm narrating the episodes for you, as we are talking about our nitpicks and the things that we like, chip in with your own, because I want to hear what everyone has to say about it.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, so Castlevania, today we're doing season 1. And then next week, I'm sorry, we're going back to the regular programming next week. It was already planned. We can't do this twice in a row. We have, but if it makes anybody feel any better, we do have Mike Watson as our guest. So, and everybody, I know, Julie, you haven't had the intense pleasure of meeting Mike, but he is he is so cool. So yeah, and he's got a really awesome comic too, which actually I think is still running its Kickstarter. So go back, Hot Shots, everybody. Just go to Kickstarter and just type in Hot Shots. You'll get it. It'll be right at the top. So today, all right, let's get to it. Castlevania. It started 2 years ago? No, 2017. So 4 years.
Oh God.
It's been 2017 already. Oh my God, dude. I hate that. Like, this happened like last year, but somehow I've gotten 4 years older. That's bullshit. Anyway, so 2017 was season 1. That's insane. and it has a star rating on IMDb of 8.3 out of 10, which I feel like is a little low. I think it should be higher than that. I don't know.
I kind of agree with that. I think that's a fair rating considering, I think, what was it just for season 1 or is that for the whole series?
It's for the whole series because I
Okay.
couldn't do the breakdown. Part of it was didn't have enough time because we didn't like plan this out enough time. But also, like, I don't know. I'm not super familiar. I thought I was really familiar with IMDb, but it turns out I don't know where I'm looking for. So.
No, I say that score is pretty fair considering all the things that we're going to be discussing throughout this segment. I don't think it's a perfect show by any means. Again, we're really just doing the nitpicky kind of shit on this show. But I still say that's a fair score. Absolutely.
Dirk Don on Facebook comments with, what's a Castlevania, a history show? Yes. I mean, it does take place in 1400s, late 1400s. So history.
Yeah, vampire times. I don't know.
We'll go with that. Yeah. So the IMDb, really the little one sentence synopsis that they put on the page there where you go looking for your episode ratings is a vampire hunter fights to save a besieged city from an army of otherworldly creatures controlled by Dracula. I say that is not bad, but it's not a besieged city, it's a besieged country. And it's more than just an army of, well, I guess it's otherworldly creatures. So yeah, okay, it is an army of other creatures. So that's pretty, and then also, I am a little bit irritated as a woman. I'm a little bit irritated that it just says a vampire hunter fights to save the city, whereas it is a vampire hunter and a magician fights to save the city. So,
yes, a speaker.
Yeah, like the vampire hunter is the Belmont, which I know Belmont. The Belmont is the main character in the games. Like that's the big name in the games. And but Sypha is in the games too, isn't she? Or am I?
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
Okay, I thought she was in the games. See, I'm not super familiar with the games. Julie, I know you're a little bit more familiar than I am. Anyway, so I'm just like, this is like from my militant feminist thought process there that just went. I'm like, a vampire hunter and a magician. You mentioned the dude. I know the vampire hunter could have been a woman, but you just mentioned the dude. You didn't mention.
Yeah.
Why'd you do that? That was very nice.
And not to go off on a whole tangent right now, but she saves Trevor's ass multiple times, throughout the series too. So
many times. He would have been fucked before the end of season 1.
Yeah.
If it weren't for her. Like, I actually wrote that down in my synopsis. Like, I wrote down the point where she saves his ass. So, okay, continuing on. Rotten Tomatoes has it, average tomato meter is a 94% and an average audience score of 89%, which that's fair, I guess. I'll take it. That's fair.
Yeah.
It says the series info on this one is inspired by the video game. This medieval fantasy follows the last surviving member of the Belmont clan and his attempt to save all of Eastern Europe from Vlad Dracula Tepe. They misspelled his name, Tepe. His name is Vlad Dracula Tepesh.
Tepesh.
Get it right, morons! So, anyway, that one's better, I think, much better than IMDb's little one sentence thingy. However, they still didn't mention Sypha. No. She's a very important part of this. I mean, okay, maybe she's not as important in the games. I don't know. I haven't played the games. I've only watched other people play them. But she's important in the series. Like she's very, very important to the series of the TV show. So why?
Well, she's not prancing around like showing her titties, so she's not important enough to get a name mentioned.
Like she shows her face, and I think she shows a bit of her upper arms when she takes off the big cloak, and that's like it. So that's true. That's true. We don't see anything of her except her face, except her head.
Am I the only one that thinks of the Pokemon Scyther when her name is said? That kept popping in my head the whole fucking time. Oh my god. Scyther! Like, that fucking Pokemon that was like the praying mantis.
I'll be honest with you, I don't watch a lot of Pokemon. I haven't watched a lot of Pokemon. I haven't played a lot of Pokemon. I'm a terrible Pokemon person to talk to. It's like, I like the little fox one, but I don't like the things that he turns into. That's what I know more about it than that now, but like that was my first thing was like, I like the little fox one. Eevee, right? Eevee.
Oh, Eevee.
I like the little fox dude. Anyway. Dirk Gahn said, I did an episode making fun of gaming tabloid upset about gay vampire sex. That was great with the show. Gay vampire sex.
Yeah. That's a thing.
We don't see any of that in this series. The show has gay vampires, but not gay vampire sex, unfortunately. There's the allusion to gay vampire sex, so I guess we have that.
Yeah, I'd say that.
We are getting way ahead of ourselves because that does not happen in season 1. So let's get to it. And if I am completely ignoring something, I apologize because I'm trying to look at now 2 screens at once because I got my synopsis and notes and stuff over here, and then I've got you guys over here. Anyway, so Julie and anybody who's watching, just jump on in. When I get to a part of a show that you had an issue with, just jump on in and say something. I'm just going to carefully read off my synopsis here, and I will warn you, see, episode 1 is like 90% of my notes, and episodes 2, 3, and 4 are the rest. So we're going to probably spend a lot of time on episode 1. And I was, to be fair, again, like you said, Julie, I don't know if that was what you said, but they cram a lot of shit into episode 1.
Yeah, they do. Mm-hmm.
The point where you gotta watch it twice almost to get what's going on through it. Like when I watched it for the first time, we watched episode 1 and then we watched episode 2 and I was like, what the fuck is going on? No, I gotta go back and watch episode 1. And I did. I had to watch episode 1 probably 3 times in the end to make sure that I knew what was going on in the other 3 episodes of the series. That is the beauty of throwing together a show like this in a couple of hours, is that episode 1 thankfully only has 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Episode 1 is called Witch Bottle. I don't know what that is, but I have a hypothesis on what Witch Bottle is that I'll point out when we get to it. So the episode starts, it opens up to the setting sun shining through these clouds into a long, straight, muddy road, and it's lined with human skeletons that have been impaled on wooden spikes. There's just a fucking 1,000 of them. They're just everywhere. It's except the road. Like there's the road and then there's skeletons as far as the eye can see, and they've all been speared like asshole to mouth. Like they're on there and they ain't moving. Whoever, like we learn who does it obviously, and I'm sure everybody who's watched it. Oh, I forgot to do this part. Look. I made that special for this episode and I forgot to use it.
Oh my god.
Anyway, so we learn who does that, who did it, but like he's very good at impaling human corpses onto wooden sticks. But,
yeah, that opening shot is the shit. Like I was like, yes, finally, this is what Dracula should be, you know? Like I got goosebumps. That opening scene is fucking amazing. Yeah,
same. They did not mince any shit. It was the only other show that made me go, what the fuck, in the first couple of minutes was Attack on Titan. And I don't know, another spoiler alert there, but I think it's when they rip a person in half or some shit, like bite somebody in half. It's fucked up is what it is. And it's like, it's a punch you in the face immediately with that. They do not try and ease you into that shit at all. Nah. And so it is with Castlevania, they show you immediately. We are not talking about the Cullen vampires. We're not talking about the sparkly Twilight vampires. We are talking about the real hardcore Dracula vampires.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. A Chiron fades in to tell us that this is Wallachia, the country of Wallachia, in the year 1455. Then bats start to skitter around our view as if the skelly pops weren't enough to let us know that this was supposed to be fucking creepy. I don't know. So the number of bats increases.
The skelly pops? I like that.
That's what they are, though, right? They're just little
I guess.
Skeletons on
Skelopopsicles.
Yeah. So the number of bats flying around the screen increases until the screen is almost blacked out with just thousands of bats screeching and beating their wings, and we can't see anything. And then the skeletons are gone, right? And then all of a sudden there's this like flash of light, and then we see a bat that's been run through with a blade. Very shiny, clean blade. Like that blade just went through a fucking bat. It should not be clean. But there's just like one little trickle of blood on it. What the fuck? This is so unrealistic. This cartoon is unrealistic. This cartoon about vampires is unrealistic. So, like, the skeletons on spikes, though, that totally fucking happened in the 1400s. So,
yeah, exactly.
That was absolutely based on reality.
Yeah.
I mean, it was all based on reality. So, anyways, all right, so we see then a woman with long blonde hair, and she's got it in a big old fat braid on her shoulder, and she's wearing these worn out robes, and she's the one holding the knife, and she's the one that just stabbed the bat. She flings the bat corpse off of her knife, and she looks around all like anxious and nervous, like. And then the camera angle changes, and we see that she's standing in front of this just massive arched door, this massive, creepy, old, dark, massive. Did I mention the door is massive? And she kind of gasps stupidly at the door, like she's like it surprised her, like it just appeared in front of her instead of her having approached it from miles away.
I thought that was odd myself. Yeah.
I was like, that was a why did you gasp? Like, you didn't just see this fucking door. You
Yeah.
in there. You knew it was there. Bitch, what are you so surprised about? Okay. So the camera then, we see the massive door. Then the camera switches to this huge panoramic view of the entire castle that she's standing in front of. And it's like from the sky. So we see the whole thing, and it's got like all these spires and stone arches, and it's totally meant for our aesthetic person. It's supposed to be for our benefit, and because this castle is completely impractical in real life. Like, how the fuck does that castle even work? There's like arched walkways that go nowhere, and there's turrets just hanging out on like one little thin one of those thin stone arches. Like, what the fuck? Who built this castle?
Yeah,
And
they did a great job with his castle, kind of, I'll say, bringing it to life, but bringing it to the screen, because his castle is one of the best, most beautiful, architecturally, I don't know if that's a word, like designed things, I think, in video game history. And they did a really good job bringing that to the screen. I mean, it's like an MC Escher drawing, basically in a castle, pretty much.
Yeah, agreed. I think that, I mean, like I said, my I'm being very nitpicky by saying it, but the grief that I have with it is that it's like not a realistic, like I'm not joking. This is the kind of shit that my brain throws at me when I'm watching shows. It's not me being an asshole. The first thing I thought when I saw that is that castle's so impractical. It just has these skinny little like supports holding these turrets, and there's just walkways going off into nothing. That castle can't possibly house the vastness that's inside that we see later. So that's my brain for you guys. That's why nobody likes me. That's why I have so few friends, and they're all on the internet.
It's like the TARDIS of the castle world.
Yes, exactly. It's bigger on the inside. Speaking of bigger on the inside, this cup here is my Doctor Who cup, and I bought it because it was fun, and we learned, Jeffrey and I both learned that it really is fucking bigger on the inside, because every time I think that I was done, I would think that all the stuff was gone, and I do that, that thing where you kind of fling back your head and get the last drop, and then I spit the drink all over my face, like I get coffee all over my face. There was way more than I thought was left. It was fucking insane. I just wanted to take a quick sidebar for that, because I haven't gotten to tell anybody outside this household about this cup, and I'm used to it now, but at first it really blew my mind. All right. Anyway, so creepy castle that is not super functional. I don't know how it would work in real life. Good thing it's cartoon and magic and shit. So the camera switches the angles again, and there's a few shots of like big gears turning, and then it switches to we see blue light zapping through this massive dome, and we see these hydraulic pistons pumping. Giggity. I wrote that in my notes, by the way. I typed it out and then I giggled my ass off.
Nice.
Like, I am fucking stupid and nobody should let me do this shit. You guys should not let me on camera to represent Unlikely Hero Studios because I am insane. Okay, quick, just to check out, I got a bunch of comments happening here. So, Princess Wiggle on Twitch, I know who that is. Yes, I fixed the I sort of fixed, it's kind of a temporary patch job on the music thing. Fixed the background music so that you can hear it when you're watching. And if you couldn't hear the music at this point, you wouldn't be able to hear Julie either, that's why. Stephen House says, hey, Sarah and Julie, sorry I missed the start. You are A-okay there, my friend, because if you want to see it later, it'll be on Twitch for a couple of weeks. It'll be on YouTube. It'll be on Facebook. Good to go if you want to catch the first 5 minutes that you missed. Astion, isn't that also Steven? I'm confused. Most epic art. Hey, Mike, what's up? Yeah, Steve, right? It's Steven. I know. That's what I thought. Oh my gosh, people coming on Twitch to watch. Yes, everybody go on Twitch and watch. We're on twitch.tv/Unlikely Hero Studios. Go watch there because Twitch is cool and Facebook sucks. I already got a warning from Facebook once, so I'm gonna get my ass banned if I don't be careful. Got a warning today. I got fucking warning. I've been on Facebook for like 12 years and I got a fucking warning today.
So stupid.
Ever. Hard. The algorithms are garbage. Okay.
Yep.
We are going off the rails like we said we wouldn't do yesterday.
Yep.
All right, back to it. The blonde woman, she sighs, and then she steps up to the door and she pounds on the door with the heel of her knife. That seems really fucking rude to do to somebody else's door, don't you think? She bangs on it with the heel of her knife, and she then takes a step back, and then she looks around like she's confused, like, why hasn't anybody answered in the half a second that I pounded on this door? It's just like her expressions, like I mean, I know that it's all very tragic, but like she bothers the shit out of me. All her animation does.
Aww.
I get that she's confused and nervous, but also like, why are you looking around immediately? You just knocked, and this place is obviously huge. Give them a few minutes to come to the door. But anyway, she doesn't have to wait long because the huge door pretty quickly, pretty immediately creaks open, and it groans open just far enough that we can let in one human blonde woman. She kind of gasps, and then she takes a step inside. She then we see the entire huge foyer with this big double staircase or imperial staircase. I don't remember which one it is. I don't know. If you guys are like architecture nerds, hit us in the comments and tell me if that Castlevania's Dracula's stairwell is a imperial stairwell or if it's a double stairwell.
They're Dracula stairwells. I don't know.
It doesn't matter. Anyway, so it curves around either side of the hall, this huge hall with there's like big pillars and it's huge, and it's very dark in there, but you can see there's just rows and rows of these blue lights and down the center of the hall, and then there's candelabras fucking everywhere. So there's like a million candles in this place.
Yeah.
Then she walks in. She's walking for, I don't know, 10 seconds maybe. And then she stops and gasps because the door kind of slams shut behind her. And we see a close up of her face, and she's like irritated, probably because the door is a fucking mile from this base of the stairs. Like she has to walk forever to get to the base of the stairs, and she has no idea where she's going. So I don't know why she's looking annoyed. Like you just walked into somebody's house without even being invited, woman. Why are you irritated? So. So she hears the door close and she looks back at the door. She's a little worried because she just got locked in a strange castle that at this point is very obviously a magical castle. Then she turns back to the inside of the castle, and there's a ghostly figure all clad in black standing in the center of the top of the double staircase.
The stairs.
I'm nitpicking myself, nitpicking the show.
You are.
See, you guys, this is why I have no friends. So the woman finally just now, sheathes the knife. And then she calls out to the figure at the top of the stairs. My name is Lisa. I'm from the village of Lupu. I want to be a doctor. What? Is that how you introduce yourself when you walk into somebody's house? Like, when I'm invited in, I'm just like, my name is Sarah. I'm from Bloomington, and I want to be a graphic designer. Like, that's how I introduce myself.
I don't know. Give it a try. Maybe it would fucking work.
I'm gonna now. Like, after I wrote that down, I was like, fuck, why did she do that? That was a stupid way to introduce yourself. I mean, at least she immediately said her name and what she was there for. It was that that Luke Skywalker business letter writing thing, like state your name, state your purpose, like that kind of thing. but it was that I was just like, you didn't say hello. Who's there? Is it okay if I come the fuck into your castle?
No, man, she's been fucking. Look, she's got like night creatures or shit. I don't know. Already after her, probably. No, she's got villagers pissed at her.
Of bats that came at her. Right but
she doesn't have any fucking time for pleasantries. She needs to get right to the fucking point and get on with it.
Yeah, I mean, the bats didn't even but I suppose she was probably traveling for a long time and she was really tired and she didn't really think. Like, I get that part. I drove across country for 2 days like 5 years ago, and I was about ready to stab somebody when I actually got to my destination. So, okay, where are we? So she just strolled down a road. Okay, this is what I wrote. Did you just stroll down a road flanked with impaled skeletons into a murder castle uninvited and then tell the dude that appeared with zero signs of approach that you want to be a doctor? Bitch, you didn't even say hello. That's what I wrote. So, I mean, I think that I'm being fair here. Like, why did that happen that way? So, anyways, the figure at the top of the stairs just fucking disappears. Just fades away. And then suddenly reappears way closer than he should have humanly been able to travel in that space of time. Way closer to Lisa. And shiny black cape, just a sweater. And says, you bang on my front door because you want to daub chicken blood on peasants? And don't worry, guys, I'm not going to quote directly everything. I just, like, this is the beginning and it's very important to me. Just work with me here. Bear with me, it'll stop. So, okay, he has totally got the right to be irritated because she just barged in and he did not invite her in, and she's a stranger. He doesn't know who she is. And you know, so there's that in my mind. But then at this point, I'm like, I think that we are missing a little bit of backstory. Why did Cape Man just assume she's a witch? Why did he just assume that she's a witch because she said, I want to be a doctor? Like, in 1455, were doctors only witches and witches only doctors? Was that interchangeable? Or was it like because she was a woman and only men can be doctors? Because that's how it is in real life. Like, if you were a woman and you tried to heal people, you were a witch. But if you were a dude trying to do it, it was fine. You were a doctor then.
100%. Yeah, and that's all that he was used to as well, is just the villagers being completely what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, they were primitive compared to, you know, what he was aware of and studying. So, yeah, she was a fucking witch.
Yeah, present day present day misogyny didn't just come out of nowhere. It had roots, and the roots go back like that. So that's actually a historically accurate part of it. Like, there's little bits and pieces that are obviously historically accurate. So, yeah, he just assumes she's a witch. She says she's not a witch, even though everybody that knows her thinks she's a witch. She is all about the science, but she doesn't have anybody to teach her. And she's heard these stories that Fancy Cape Man in the weird castle with the turrets that aren't attached to anything has, and I quote, secret knowledge. Ruh-roh. Then suddenly, boom, Ballroom Casper is right behind her. Right fucking behind her. And I don't know how tall Lisa is, but this dude is towering over her. He is enormous. He is a giant. Like, he's super skinny, but he is fucking tall. And he's just menacing over her. Like he's like leaning over her to try to scare the shit out of her.
Yep.
Her eyes get all big because, like, who the fuck does that, right? And so you see him and he's like leaning over. We see his hand like menacingly reach at her shoulder, like he's gonna grab her and kill her. we get then it's like the camera angle goes to a close up of his mouth, and I know we're supposed to be intimidated by when he speaks the vampire fangs. We're supposed to be intimidated by that and like the pointy nose and the obviously otherworldly look of him. But I'm just like, that mustache is bitchy. That's a good mustache. It's like a ringleader, like the circus ringleader mustache. It's got a little curl and shit. It's good stash, and like the top of the goatee too.
Yeah, well, that's historically accurate too, because the real Vlad did have, that, he had a pretty good one going on there too.
You are right. You are right. When you're right, you're right. So, okay, back to the story. I finally started focusing what I was supposed to focus on, and I see Dracula asks Lisa, he did introduce himself. Like, we get our first look at him, right? So, and he did say, "I'm Vlad Dracula Tepesh, and I do not get many visitors." Technically, she wasn't a visitor. Technically, she's breaking and entering.
Sure.
Yeah, but like you're only a visitor if you are invited, right? Or if like you're invited in. Like she can show up out of the blue, but she should have waited until he said it was okay to come in. Yeah. I'm never gonna get over that. That's like the entire fucking thing. Every time we mention that, but he didn't let her in. Never said she could come in. She just came in. Okay. Dracula asks Lisa what she has to trade for the knowledge that she's seeking, and she says, maybe I can help you relearn some manners. Like, just annoyed right away. Like, she goes from being wide-eyed and nervous about him, like, I'm going to get you, immediately to, you're kind of an asshole, and you should stop that.
Exactly.
So, like, she scolds him, and she is a stranger who just walked into his place uninvited, and she scolds him for not offering her a drink. Like, I don't offer people who just barge into my house beverages, okay? I don't know. I offer them to get the fuck back out, but I don't offer them beverages. Like, who needs a lesson in manners here, lady? Like, it might not be him. So far, he's not being particularly friendly, but he's also not the one who just broke a lot of etiquette rules.
True.
So, like, and then like I said, when she introduced herself, she's just like, "I'm Lisa," and she didn't say hello or nothing. Like, maybe that was a historically accurate greeting. I don't know, but the point is that he's not the only one who needs manners. He continues. Okay, so Dracula continues to like be menacing, and he suggests that maybe he's going to drink her blood as like a riposte for offering her a drink, and then he's like, "Did you inoculate yourself with the traditional vampire, the garlic or the holy water, blah blah, silver, yada yada?" She gets all self-conscious. This is my favorite part. She gets all self-conscious. It's very if any of you have seen Twilight or read the books, unfortunately I've done both, and I blame you, Megan. You know who you are. And she this is a very Bella Swan moment where she's like, she gets all self-conscious. She still does not seem to get that he's a fucking vampire and he eats people, the thing that she is. And she says that she maybe ate some roasted garlic before she came. And sorry, there seems to be a cat battle happening here, and they're going to rip all my fucking shit off the table. Cats! Oh my god. This break brought to you by asshole cats. So, okay, where was I? Oh, so she still doesn't get it that he's a vampire. Vampires eat people. And she says she maybe ate some roasted garlic, and she covers her mouth. And she's like, "Was that rude?" I'm like, "You really don't get what manners are, girl." Like, she busted into his place, and then she accused him of being rude. And then she's like, "But is this rude?" And I'm like, just confused face. So, like, she's just, I mean, it's just serious irony and lack of lack of self-awareness on the whole manners thing. So Lisa continues that she's not interested in tricking people with superstition or with snake oil cures, but that she wants to learn to heal people, and that, please, Dracula, help me learn. Oh my god, Jeffrey! Get your cat! Oh my god! They've never bothered me when I've done a stream before, and today, just battle royale over here. So she begs Dracula to help her learn medicine, and he says, "You're not like the other humans that I've met." And he's like circling her the whole time. He starts circling her like a vulture, like a coyote about ready to attack his prey.
Mm-hmm.
She's like looking at him still with this derisive irritation on her face, and she's like, "Well, I could try to teach you to like people again, or at least pretend to like them, or at least stop putting them on spikes."
Yeah.
And I thought that was cute. Like I was like, that was good. Okay, Lisa, I'll give you that 1 point to Lisa. That was clever. Then he thinks that's funny too, because he kind of giggles a bit, and then he tells her he hasn't done that in a really long time, but he obviously did like it a lot because there's literally like 1,000 skeletons in his front yard. Like, I wish that I could do that with my front yard. I don't know where I'd get that many skeletons, but it looked cool. It's got a little skeleton farm there. Good crop. So Dracula decides that he's going to engage her in a little small talk, right? And he says, "Where's Lupu?" And Lisa's like surprised, and she says, "You don't travel a lot, do you?" And he says, "Of course I travel. My entire castle is a machine that travels, and of course I can travel." And I'm like, and that was like out loud. I was like, just because you can doesn't mean you do, duh, Dracky. So Lisa points that out too. And then she says, "You should travel because it's fun and then it's interesting and you learn stuff." And he's like offended by that, which I thought was interesting. And so he's like offended, and he says that you want me to travel like a man. And he's just very, like, you can tell the disdain is just dripping from him when he says like a man. You want me to travel like a man? And he has, and so that's what she's offering him, is just like a suggestion to travel. And he has this state of the art laboratory and the knowledge of the gods, as he calls it. And that's all she has to offer, is a suggestion that he should travel. And also, he immediately jumps to the assumption that she says that he should walk, like travel like a man. It's like, she never said that. You can take your magic flying castle. Just do it. That's all she said. She didn't say that you should walk around. She just said you should travel, and you can take your magic flying castle and travel. You don't need to walk. So Drac waves his hand and alerts Lisa to the fact that he has, this whole time as they've been talking, he has been carefully leading her to this huge laboratory, and it's beautiful, and there's library books everywhere, and there's like bottles and bubbling potions on the counters, and of course she is astounded, and she's just ogling with these big googly eyes, and she looks back at him and says that he says, "Why should he help people?" She's like, you should help people. You should give this knowledge to everybody and help people. And he's like, "Why would I do that?" He's like disgusted, because he obviously very much hates humans. And she's like, "Because if you taught them, they wouldn't be scared, stupid idiots that die young anymore." And he kind of giggles and asks why he should do that. Why should I teach them? And she says that, well, it will make the world better. And then she goes, "Start with me and I'll start with you." Aww. So sweet, right? We totally see where this is heading at this point. We totally see where their personal relationship is headed. And he, like, this is the first time that we really kind of see him smile, and he kind of laughs to her, and he bows and waves her into the laboratory, like welcomes her into it, and he says, "I think I might really like you." And she walks into the room a couple steps, but then she turns back and she reaches for his hand, and then he follows her behind in the laboratory, and scene, like they fade out, and then the next scene opens up to a big wide shot of a city at dusk, and there's this big huge cathedral in the middle of the town, and there's clearly like a fire happening in front of the cathedral, because there's just an orange wall just glowing against the cathedral. And then we get another chyron that says Targo Vista, Wallachia, 1475. So 20 years have passed since Dracula and Lisa met. The camera switches, and we see a crowd surrounding this big pyre with a huge spike in the middle, like super tall spike in the middle. And the camera zooms in, and who is tied to that spike but poor Lisa? She is hacking and coughing, and she's sweating, like she is definitely in obvious pain. And then the camera angle pans out to the crowd, and there's priests holding up their little tea sticks, crucifix. That's what it's called.
God.
Leave me alone. This podcast is over. So okay. Yes. No, not tea like the drink. Tea like a tea.
Oh my God. You know what? You just reminded me of something real quick. So, for reasons I won't get into, I was in a church a couple of weeks ago, and my husband couldn't remember the name of the seats, the pews, and he called them benches, and I just like shit myself laughing. He's like, yeah, the benches.
Yeah, that's probably not as bad if you say that to a priest or something as you do if you say, I want to see.
That's true. Yeah.
My dad always liked that joke when we were kids. We'd go to church every week when we were kids because my mom is crazy. And dad would say, when you go to church, you have to sit in your own pew. No, when you fart in church, you have to sit in your own pew. That's the
joke. That's cute.
Yeah, it's a good dad joke. Good dad joke. Okay, so the priests are holding up their crucifixes and they're chanting these prayers silently. We can't hear the prayers. The camera is flipping back and forth to the priest, and then it flips to this priest who's wearing fancier clothes than the other priest, and he's got the scowl on his face. And a middle-aged bearded man walks up beside him, and he refers to that priest as the bishop, and asks him to confirm that he found, quote, evil engines in her house. And the priest kind of sneers and just oozes, like you just immediately hate this guy the second he starts to speak. He is a scumbag, to crown all scumbags. He is a bad guy.
Yeah.
And just like, not even just about being bad, he's just like unlikable. He's just a gross guy. And he goes, I saw them with my own eyes, and I saw all these strange weeds in this odd-shaped glass. And I'm like, your justification for murdering a woman is that you saw some weird glass and a dead plant. What the fuck? That's it. That's all they got. And also, I think that's my hypothesis on that. That's where witch bottle came from. Is he saw her little test tubes and Bunsen bottles and things.
Yeah, they were probably potion bottles. Exactly.
Yeah. And
medicine,
he's like, those are witch bottles. So that's where my thoughts on that's where witch bottle comes from. Because the rest of the episode's names are much more to the point. But I'm like, what the fuck is witch bottle? So okay. So he refers to the weird glass and the plants and the machines as witches things, and that he's never rooted out a witch, e.g. other innocent women that he's burned alive. He's never seen a witch that had a collection like she had. And he says Lisa called it science, and she just couldn't understand that Satan gave her all those things. The bearded man, who we come to learn is actually the mayor of Targovishta, and he says it's a shame that it had to come to this, that it had to come to the murder of this woman to kill her, and he kind of seems like he's a little bit like he didn't want this to be the thing that happened. He didn't want this, but he also didn't try to stop it. And he comments that he made a small observation of the chemical sciences, and the bishop glares at him.
Yes.
And he goes, whoa, dude, I'm not practicing that witchcraft bullshit. I just studied it a little.
I just studied it.
Yeah,
I dabbled a little bit.
I just looked, I didn't touch. And he says, I would never practice such things. I'm like, would you though? I'm like Thor and Ragnarok. Would you though? So the bishop says that the archbishop, who is his boss, prefers life in Wallachia, stay simple, pure, and good. Translation, dude is a despot. He wants everybody to stay poor and sick and stupid. And fuck this guy. We haven't even met him yet, and I hate it. So the view goes back to the pyre, and we hear Lisa scream loudly in anger. It's like she just shrieks. And it was props to the voice actor on this one, because that was a really horrible, like I went bleh. every time that I've watched it, and I've watched it 100 times at this point to make my notes. Every time I was bleh. So Like she's like, and then she's hacking and she's gasping and she's just drooping, and all her weight is on the ropes that are holding her to the spike, and she's definitely gonna die soon. So she raises her head up in this last burst of energy, and she goes, "Please don't hurt them. They don't understand. They don't know what they're doing. I know that this isn't your fault." And I was like, why would he ever think it was his fault? He didn't tie her to that stake. But anyway, I know it's not your fault. They don't know what they're doing. Please don't do this. Be the bigger man. And then she shrieks again horribly, and she's down into and like she's dead. And it's very sad, very horrible. Like the first time I watched that scene, even in animation, it was horrifying. So okay, next the bearded man, the mayor, asks the bishop, "Who's Lisa talking to?" And the bishop's like, "She's begging Satan not to take his revenge on us." Yeah,
of course.
Begging him, yeah, because of course it was Satan, right? Begging Satan not to take revenge, because at this point, mind you, Dracula has made no mention of having ties to Satan or hell or anything particularly evil, and we don't know the story about the Skellies on spikes, but it could be that they tried to kill him and he just killed them back. Like he could have killed them in defense, which that's a little foreshadowing. We'll get into that in the next episode or 2 episodes away, whatever. you know, if you've watched it, you know. So let's see. So then the bishop like kind of smirks. He looks away from the mayor and he kind of smirks and he's like, maybe it's almost commendable that a witch be concerned about our welfare, and maybe I'll say a small prayer for her when I go back home. Sure you will, buddy. I mean, seriously, fuck this guy. Then the opening credits roll, and they're not like there's some really cool opening credits out there. These aren't that. They're nothing special. They're fine, but they're nothing special. They're not like the music is fine, but it's not Game of Thrones music, and it's not Mandalorian or like NCIS or whatever. hey, NCIS is a skit show, but at least you fucking recognize that music when it comes on.
I guess, yeah, that's right.
I mean, every time, like, I don't even care about, is it dubstep or whatever that music is called? I'm like, I don't even care, but like every time it comes on, I'm like, and I'm just jamming. Every time. And this is, by the way, the only time that we actually see the opening credits in its full glory. Every episode after this is just like, Castlevania, kind of like how Supernatural is like,
yeah.
Which, fine, because I fucking hate opening credits anyway, so that works for me. So, the next scene, we hear these distant bells, like church bells tolling, and we see Dracula kind of trudging along a road, and he crosses this little bridge, and he's carrying a pack, so we assume he's traveling like a man. And like Lisa asked, or like Lisa insinuated, gave him the idea to do, we get a close-up of his hand, like, which seems like a weird thing, except that he's wearing this very shiny, smooth wedding band. It's obviously a wedding band. I'm waving the wrong hand. It's this hand, isn't it? It's your left hand. Left hand. Ooh, that's pretty. I don't think that's how girly I am with jewelry. Like we've been married for years now, and I've never asked you to see the ring. I don't care about jewelry. It's just my thing. Anyway, so he keeps walking through the village and then through the woods, the grassy areas. He's walking. Like obviously you get a clear indication he's walking home, and then the wind picks up very ominously, very forebodingly, and he's like, something's wrong. He looks down and there's blood and broken wood on the ground on the path in front of him. So he kind of books it through and like takes a shortcut through the weeds and pushes past them and into the clearing where his house used to be. Like instead of his house there, he sees a pile of burning wood and stone, and he drops his backpack in shock. And so as Drac is standing in front of the ruins of his home, this little woman comes up and she's carrying a bouquet of flowers, and she asks him if he's Mr. Tepesh, and said that Lisa talked about him. Drac turns around and he's like, "What happened? Where's my wife?" And he's kind of like, he's got a low, calm voice, but you can tell like he's visibly irritated. Mm-hmm. He is upset, obviously, because his house is rubble now. I would be upset too. So the old woman bows her head sadly and shakes, and she says the bishop took her. He was going to burn her at the stake for witchcraft. And Drac has no reaction at this point, just standing there like a statue. So she walks past him and she lays the flowers down in the pathway in front of the burned house. And then she tells Drac that Lisa was good to her and helped her, and that she was a good doctor, and what happened was not right. Drac says, "Where is the bishop keeping her?" And the woman's like, "Oh no, sir, she'll be dead by now." Like she kind of blurted it out, which is not the way that I would want to be notified of the death of a loved one. But also, she was like, she also had a kind voice, so I guess it was okay.
Yeah.
But overall, just fucking yikes. Like, you see the murder in his eyes. And, like, he immediately, like, that right then, as soon as we get another glance at his face, like, you can see he's already lost it. He is already crazy. Like, that was all it took. That was all it took for him to lose every bit of faith he ever had in humanity.
Yep.
And, like, it was clear he still didn't really care for people, but he loved Lisa, so he dealt with it for her. Because he loved her. Good husband material there.
Definitely.
Let's moving on to the part where his wife has been brutally murdered. He like, we see him clench his fist and he opens his eyes wide, and finally we see a reaction from him and he goes, "What?" And she says that she refused to take part in the whole spectacle of burning and killing Lisa and the church doing it, and she chose to come to the home and pay respect to Lisa instead that way. So he starts to cry, and Jesus Christ, he's crying blood. He's fucking crying blood. And, like, I mean, your wife's a doctor, you should have her look at that. Wait, you can't. So he says that Lisa had told him that if he loved her, he should travel as a man would and see the world as a human would. And again, I don't think she exactly said that, at least not in the beginning, but maybe at some point in the last 20 years she did. So the woman goes, "Oh, well, she said you were traveling." Like, that's not, you just broke the news that his wife was murdered. You don't be making small talk at this point, girl. So he's like, "Yes, I was traveling like a man, slowly." He's like, very obviously emphasis on the slowly. Like, if he had gone his way, that just wouldn't happen. And he's never going to do that again. And he says, Lisa said, wait, no. He says, the old woman, so you can see and feel the rage building up in the guy as he kind of hisses out to the old woman that one last act of kindness in Lisa's honor. I'm going to give you this piece of information. Pack your shit up and get the fuck out. Get the fuck out of Wallachia, because stuff's going to go down and you do not want to be here for it. And at first, she might not have immediately believed that, but then she gets a full-on look of his face and the blood, the tears of blood, and then she goes, "Woo!" And then, then she starts to freak out a little bit there. She's like starting to go, "Oh my God, he's not normal. He's not regular." And then there's fucking fire shooting from Drac's eyes. So yeah, if she didn't get it from the blood tears, then fucking fire from the eyes.
Fire, yeah.
Fire tears. And then she's like, "No longer am I going to travel like a man." And then his whole fucking body bursts into flames. Like, lady, get up. She fell down in shock. I'm like, get up and run. You're going to be on fire, girl.
So, she can't fucking run. She's an old lady.
That's fair. Well, she does run. She does run away because
she toddles away.
Okay, fair. But that was running for her. But yeah, so the camera kind of closes in on his face, and now he's still crying, but it's fucking fire tears. Fire tears are happening. Like, I thought my morning crusties were annoying, but fire tears would really dry the shit out of your eyes. So, okay, so like the old woman's watching all this, and she is starting to really flip her shit at this point. She falls down, she gasps, she screams, like she's screaming at him. She ain't seen nothing yet, because all of a sudden Drac's burning body just goes and blows and flies away in this column of just very, very forceful fire. So lava or some shit, I don't know.
Yeah, that's far.
Yeah, he just flies off in it. That's how he travels, like him.
Yeah.
Not like a man. So, okay, so she manages to get her wits about her enough that she gets up off the ground. She takes off running in a panic, toddling in a panic. And then the camera kind of pans down, and we see her flowers, her bouquet of flowers that she put for Lisa are on fire, because everything is on fire. So, okay, so then we go back. Then the scene switches to the cathedral pyre where Lisa was burning in Targovista, and she is like extra tasty crispy, but her body's still up on there. And there's that smarmy bishop just admiring the shit out of his handiwork, and her body eventually just can't, it can't hold itself up anymore and just down into the fire. And we're like, and he's just smirking, and he's
Yep.
very proud of himself. Fucking he's bad. Okay, so the crowd is, by the way, shouting in like approval, like they're agreeing with all the stuff that's going on here. So the mayor says, well, the job's done, we should go get some drinks. And what? That's what you do after burning somebody alive?
Hell yeah.
I guess.
Celebrate.
Everybody. I hope the mayor's buying. So the bishop's like, nah, I gotta go take care of the archbishop because he's not well, and I fear he may be long for this world. Like, he's gonna die soon. And I, like, the first thing I thought was, like, there's gonna be a whole political thing where the bishop's poisoning the archbishop or something, because he's obviously, the bishop is a power-hungry psychopath. But the archbishop is also a power-hungry psychopath. And we haven't even met the guy yet, and we know that because he was totally fine with them burning an innocent woman alive in the fucking in the cathedral square. So mayor says, like, isn't that the ultimate goal for priests? He's gonna die and go to heaven and serve God in his own house. And the bishop's like, but there's so much to do here. There's so much evil, and there's no time for dying because I got so much work to do here. If I could just burn out all the witches and, you know, kill more women and steal more from innocent poor people, like, then Wallachia could be God's own country.
Mm-hmm.
So right at this moment, the pyre just explodes into another column of very forceful fire, and Drax's face slowly materializes amongst the flames, like just his face is made of fire. And he says, "What have you done?" Like, the crowd is like, "What have you done to the?" And the bearded man, the mayor, says, "Oh my God, it's Satan." And Drax's like, "What did you do? What did you do?" And this dumb fuck bishop holds up his stupid little rosary, and he's holding up his rosary to flame Drax, and he's like chanting a Latin prayer, and Drax's like, "What the fuck are you doing? I am Vlad Dracula Tepes, and you just murdered the only person on this whole earth that I didn't hate. Whoopsie." So the mayor's shitting himself and blithering about Satan and how Dracula was supposed to be a myth, and Dracula's not real. He's just a vision. The bishop is like, "You're not real. You're just a vision." And the bearded, the bishop's like jabbering, and like this, what all the shit that he's saying, all the shit that the mayor's saying would strongly suggest that everybody knows the stories of Dracula. It was supposed to be a legend, but everybody knows, and they know he is extremely powerful, and you do not want to fuck with him.
Yeah.
And he goes, so then we go back to Drac, and he's like, "Are you fucking kidding me, dude? You just killed my wife. My wife. This is important that she's my wife, and you aren't even going to acknowledge that I'm real? Are you fucking kidding me? I'm right here before you, made of fire." And then he goes, "I'm giving you 1 year to get your affairs in order, and then I'm coming back, and I'm going to fuck up everything. You're going to be dead. They're going to be dead. Your whole town's going to be leveled. This is it. You've got 1 year." And if it were me seeing all that shit, I would have gone home, packed up my shit, and got the fuck out of Wallachia like the old lady. I would have been on the same train as her. And he specifically says, "You took that which I loved, so now I will take everything you've ever had." And I'm like, extreme? Justified. Because it wasn't just that they killed her, it was that they deliberately killed her in the name of a god that he doesn't acknowledge, that Lisa didn't really acknowledge. I don't say she didn't believe in it, but she didn't really seem like a religious person. Like, you just did that, so yeah, I'm going to take everything from you. I'm going to take everything from you, and then I'm going to take your life. And so the views change from the bishop to the mayor to several people in the crowd, and you see the realization dawn on their face that, holy fucking shit, this magic fire just told them that he's coming back to kill them. And probably wondering why he's not killed. Why are you giving us a heads up? And I also wonder that if the bishop had left Wallachia, this is one of my nitpicks, like, if the bishop had left Wallachia, would Dracula have gone after him and like hunted him down for the ends of the earth?
I think so, but he probably still would have destroyed all the people because they didn't do anything to stop him either.
Yeah, that's a given. Like, he's absolutely going to kill everybody. He's going to do everything he said. Like, because obviously the bishop is so arrogant and confident that God's got his back. Yeah. That he's like, I have no intention of leaving. Like, he was just like, we just saw, this is a vision and it's madness and it's too much smoke inhalation, something, I don't know. But he's going to justify the shit out of that and say it wasn't real and this isn't really happening, which, to be fair, in the real world, that's probably what I would have done too. Although I would have been really fucking shaken because that's some sentient ass fire there. I don't know what I would have. I don't know what I would do if that were real. But so let's see. Okay, so the view goes back to Drakfire, and he promises he finishes up his big long promise to kill them in 1 year, and then the fire again, and speeding column of lava fire, and Drak's face disappears in a burst of flames, and the captions. I am hard of hearing, so I have the captions on. Like Julie, you probably knew that, but for those of you who don't know me, like I am a little hard of hearing, so I just have the captions on all the time, and the captions call that the blast and the sound after that an unearthly shriek. And I was like, yes, it was an unearthly shriek. You are correct, caption man.
I like that a lot. Usually those descriptions can be completely ridiculous, but that fits.
Yeah, so very often they're misspelled, and sometimes, actually, way more often than I'd like to believe would be allowed. The captions don't even match what the people are saying. So, totally aside nitpicks. Aside like the TARDIS cup aside. It's not your fault, Castlevania, but this shit has got to stop. All the church windows break and the glass falls, and the now pants-shitting town people are running around and getting hit by glass, and fucking fireballs start raining down from the city. So and then it kind of, fades out from there, and then we go back to the scene of Dracula's castle, where he clearly hasn't been in quite some time because he was living in that little cottage with Lisa until they burned it to the ground. So then he goes back to his castle, and he's looking into, and I think sort of like just stepping out of this magical mirror that bursts into shards after he steps away from it. Mm-hmm. His face indicates he's clearly beyond sanity now. This guy there's no going back. He's too far gone. He starts smashing things in his own house, and he screams that it'll take him 1 year to amass an army to burn Lithia to the ground and kill everyone in it. And I noticed this. His eyes were gold when he walked up and discovered the scene of him and his wife's house burning. Mm-hmm. When he talked to the old woman, his eyes were gold. And maybe it was just from the fire reflecting in him. But at this point, when he's like screaming about his army and he's going to burn Lithia to the ground, and I see that his eyes are blood, freaking red. Yeah. Little points. Like they're as eerie as they could possibly make him without changing his animation. I don't know, weird. Just weird. No plot drivers for that. It's just weird. And then a door opens up to the room where Drac is in, and this tall, slender figure steps into the just god-awful blasting white light that's shining in from these doors. In this room that Drac was in must have been completely black, because we cannot see anything. We see the silhouette of the figure. Like, we can see nothing else, no features. But it's a man, because we hear the male voice go, no. Just no. And then Drac's like, the fuck do you mean no? You can't tell me no, I'm fucking Dracula. So, we have no idea who this guy is at this point, and we are, then, the camera view changes, and we see the, back of the mystery man, and we can't really make much out because he's so washed out in that really bright light that's coming from behind him. But we can see that he's got pale-colored hair, and it's super long and beautiful. It's fucking, oh my god, fucking beautiful hair, man. Pisses me off. And like, I want cartoon hair, damn it!
Yep.
Anime hair! When I got that terrible haircut a couple years ago that was like really short, that's what I told the lady, and she did not deliver. No. I'm not going to show anybody that shit. But okay, so we can also see that the dude, the mystery man, is wearing a long coat, like a long jackety thing. Like, we can tell that it goes past his hips, and he's carrying a sword because we can see the hilts of the sword.
Yes.
The hilt of the sword poking out. And he says, you can't, the mystery man tells Drac, you can't just kill everyone, only kill the one who killed Lisa. And the camera angle moves to the front of the mystery man, and of course, because it's the light behind him, we can still only see like the outline of his hair, but we can tell that it's definitely blonde hair. So that's it. Let's see. So Drac is like, bitch, they are all guilty. None of them tried to stop this shit. They're all just as guilty as the one who actually lit the fire. And any of them, at any point, could have stopped this shit, but they didn't. So they're all guilty in my mind. And I'm just like, point, justified. What you said, yes. Isn't that the whole the Nazi era quote about all it takes for good people to be bad is to do nothing in the face of evil or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly that quote, and I'm screwing it the hell up, but yeah, it's all it takes is for those townspeople to stand by. Like the old woman, she personally seems to be the only one who didn't want this to happen, but she never could have stopped it on her own. They would have just stabbed her and been the end of it. Because like old people don't matter a ton in this society. How do you think they mattered in 1455, 1475, whatever? So anyway, Mystery Man says, if you send an evil army into the world, you will not be able to control it. You cannot undo this shit. Tons of innocent people are gonna die. And Drac is like, no, fuck them. They're all guilty. And I'm just like, maybe not all of them, Drac, but like certainly all the people in Targa Vista. I feel like killing the entire country is a little much, but I'll totally give you killing all of the Targavistians.
That sounds right.
Yeah, certainly the source of power in the Wallachian Church. If you want to do that, because like Archbishop obviously ordered these killings, he was fine with it, or else it wouldn't have happened. Because you don't overstep the Archbishop. Okay, so the Mystery Man says that he's grieving for Lisa too, but he's not going to let Drac murder the whole world. And then we see our first glimpse of the of any features except for hair of the Mystery Man, and it's just this one gold eye that looks suspiciously like Lisa's eye. Like we're meant to see that it looks like Lisa. And you're going, so Lisa turned into a dude? Like at this point, I had no theories when I was watching it. I had no theories on who that guy was. Well, I did because I knew enough about the games to know.
I figured. Yeah.
Who that was. So but I mean, and it's also like it's suspiciously Lisa-like, and also it's a really good stark contrast to Drac's like super black hair and red eyes.
Yeah.
And so Dracula loses his shit and just like war cries and lunges at the dude, and then and like he's got his claws out, but he's got no weapon, and we see the Mystery Man reach for his sword, and then there's like darkness, blood flash. There's a darkness, and then a big splash of blood flies. And then and Drac's like, rah! And then we have no idea what happened after that. Like all we saw was like he roared at him, he had his claws out. The other dude reached for his sword, but didn't actually get it out before we lost sight of him. And then we see the splash of blood, and then that's it. Like so, we don't know what happened to the Mystery Man or Dracula. We don't know who won that fight. And like obviously, if you've played the games, you know what happens. If you've seen it already, you know. But we're doing this for the benefit of anybody who's watching and doesn't know, I guess. I'm an idiot, I know. So we get to the next scene starts as a close-up into some old guy's mouth. That was an interesting choice, I thought. He's like, the guy is like, and we just are looking directly into the dude's mouth. It's an interesting choice on the part of the director, producer, whoever makes those decisions. But we're looking straight down his fucking throat. I didn't see a uvula, and that pissed me off. I was like, if we're gonna look into his throat, we might as well get to see the dangly thing, right?
Yeah.
So, weird angle choice, whatever. When it zooms out, we see that the big mouth belongs to a guy who is in a choir, and they're just vocalizing some kind of hymny sounding music in front of the cathedral. And then another Chiron tells us that we're back in Targa Vista, and it's actually 1476, 1 year after they burned Lisa at the stake. And we see the cathedral grounds have all these tents, and there's pennants, and there's lots of decorations, and there's people amassing. There's clearly some kind of celebration happening. We don't know what it is. I don't think we ever actually officially learn what it is, but we have a pretty fucking good idea. Yeah. Probably already at this point, having watched it for the first time, probably already know what they're celebrating. There's people kind of congregating around the church doors, and then the doors burst open, and this fucking archbishop draped in he's just dripping with gold, and he's like, you can see that he's very obese, and he's on a motherfucking palanquin. Like, humans are carrying him on a platform, and on that platform is a fucking gold throne, and this dude is sitting on it, and he's letting humans carry him. Let me say it again. Humans are carrying him on a motherfucking palanquin. Oh my god. It's like, it just punctuates how evil they are, like how rich and privileged and just unlikable this guy is. So we get a good look at him for the first time. And like, obviously this is the Archbishop. He is old and he is ugly, and he's obviously, and like I said, he's very obese to suggest that he's also a glutton, and he's greedy. So,
he has this disgusting like frog double chin going on too. That's covered in like pimples and like acne, and like
they really dialed up to.
He's like, he is disgusting.
They made it very clear that this is not a man we want to like in a visual manner. And you know, on one hand, like, there's part of my brain is going, but that's like what people look like is not indicative of who they are. And because I'm sitting here going, like, as a plus size girl, as a fat person, I'm sitting here going, I don't want people just to look at this guy and go, oh, fat people are gross. Because I'm not gross, but this guy's gross. Like, it's 1476. Food was like, sustenance was, you had to get it, but like, to get enough food to get that fat, you are being a massive glutton. Like, that's like,
yeah.
I'm not fat because I'm a glutton. I'm fat because I have all the fucking diseases. So like, that's like, you know, it's a thing. It makes me wonder what people who had hypothyroidism in the Middle Ages, what did they look like? Were they still skinny? I don't know.
I think about that kind of stuff all the time, like what diseases and whatever, how they were treated, and like, you know.
I'm the only one. It's just like weird little sidebars that my brain likes to take when I'm watching TV, and then I, miss half the fucking episode. I'm like, can we turn that back for a few minutes? Actually, just go back to the beginning. I missed it all. So, okay, so we get the ugly face. He holds his hand up to the crowd to like tell them to quiet, and there's like big talons on his fingernails. Like, Kardashians would be so jealous of these fucking claws. And he makes this gross like phlegm gurgling wheezing sound, and then he starts to talk, and it's this big speech, this grandiose speech about how he's been the Archbishop of Targovishta for 20 years, and they're so full of God's love there. And he says that we burned Lisa at the stake, and a lot of people saw that horrible vision of the devil himself. They keep calling the devil, even though they're the only ones who are conflating him with the devil. Mm-hmm. And they actually kind of made him the devil with the whole, I'm gonna get an army of the dead and army of the damned, the hell army, yeah. And he's like, we saw the vision of the devil saying they're all gonna die in a year, and here we are a year later, totally fine, everything's fine. Where's the fire and brimstone, buddy? You're all talking, no action, right? Like you can't get, like, it's like he's like taunting him, like, you're talking big. Where is it? Where is it when it matters? Where's your power now, bro? And it's like, it's obvious foreshadowing, but seriously, why? If you think this guy is the fucking devil, why would you taunt him? I mean, the hubris. Oh, hubris. It's bad when you're sympathizing with the devil that just with the vampire that just said he's going to amass an army of the damned to murder everybody, right? Like, if that's bad, right? You shouldn't sympathize.
We deserve it usually.
Yeah, he has his reasons, and those people definitely deserve it. Like, but who fucking taunts the devil? You don't taunt the devil. I don't even taunt my cat because they might bite me, and then I'll have the stress.
Well, we all know cats are in league with Satan anyway, so. Oh
yeah, and cats are definitely tiny little demons running around doing their bidding and Satan's bidding. Absolutely. Okay, so he's just blustering on, and he does not notice at fucking all that as he's been just jabbering on, the clouds are just floating at a very unnatural speed over this town. And they are red. They are casting a red glow onto everything. These are not normal clouds. Like, obviously, these are not normal clouds. And this fucking wrinkly old asshole has exactly zero awareness. He is not watching at all. Hey, Mike. Mike Watson just showed up. Hi, Mike. We're excited to see you next week. Okay, back to the story now. But like, how can you not notice this shit, right? Like the fucking blood red death clouds are floating over your city. They came in about 10 seconds. How do you not see this shit? So the camera zooms into his face and his eyes are bulging out. And he's like he's not even scared. He's just bulging out. And he's like, they're so blessed. Really impressive job. And then he takes a moment to wheeze again, and he's holding his hands out, and a drop of blood right into his hand. And he's like, oh, and then more blood. And then, yeah, it was like his little outstretched rat claws and get covered with blood. And he's like, what? And then we start to see that that blood is actually raining onto the entire town, and people are starting to lose their shit because this fucking sky is raining blood. And this is the point at which the shit hits the fan, because everybody starts screaming and running because these gross little dead fetus monsters start falling from the sky too, and they're like flat onto the ground. I'm not sure what the decision-making process was on that, but it was gross. So like that definitely drove home the gross factor. So then the ground starts to shake and rumble, and the courtyard splits, and it splits all the way up the cathedral walls and breaks the cathedral in half. The windows shatter. 2 big old shards of glass fire down, just rocket into the archbishop's back, and and he falls to the ground. But he's not dead. He's like sits up and he pushes himself up and turns to look back at the cathedral at exactly the right moment to see it just explode in flames. And then we get a big panoramic shot of the whole city, and Drax just absolutely massive face, like the scale of this. I can't even imagine what it would look like if it was real. Oh my god. And he's like, he just kind of leans down from the clouds and he's like, sup fuckers, you're gonna celebrate killing my wife? Time to die. So, like, I can't believe you have. It's like, he's like, I can't believe you have the balls to celebrate killing my wife on the very day, on the anniversary of the very day that you did it. I fucking warned you. I fucking warned you, didn't I? And this is what I get. So then we hear an explosion and some like awful rumbling, and the camera angle shakes, and Drax Castle is just rising up in the background. It's super ominous. It was a really cool shot. Definitely go back to watch it and really watch it, because it's a cool ass shot. And let's see, where did I go? I lost my spot. I spent way too much time on just episode 1 here, but just to be fair, like we were talking about before the show started, 2 and 3 are like nothing. And 4 is not that long either. So, okay, so Drax Castle's rising, more fire in the town square. People are just running everywhere in a mass panic. Doors and shutters of the buildings around the town start to just open, like really hard, slam open. And these swarming mass of these like red-eyed fat pig monsters start pouring out of these buildings. Like, how did they get there? We don't know. But they're there, and now they're coming to fuck shit up. The whole scene kind of pauses for a second. So this one monster flies down and takes this swing at a young blonde woman, and to swipe at her, and you see her jostle, like he connected, and then everybody kind of stops, and the sounds everything freezes for a second while we wait to see what happens to this woman, and she kind of teeters for a minute, and then she turns to the camera, and her fucking face is gone.
It's fucking awesome.
It was such a good scene. It was such a good shot. Love it. Oh, we are going to sound like a couple of psychopathic monsters by the end of this, aren't we? So, okay. So like everybody sees this stuff, and then all hell breaks loose. So the monsters just descend like locusts, and they start just massacring everybody. They're literally eviscerating. I have never seen so many animated guts in my life. There's just like animated intestines. I mean, one monster shoots fire from his mouth like a dragon, but he's definitely not a dragon. Like, there's an image of a little boy that's been torn in half. Blood draining into the sewage drains. Like, it is pandemonium. It is traumatic. I definitely had some weird fucking dreams the first time I watched this show. Very graphic, very graphic. They really drove home the severity of Dracula's warning. Like, you should have listened to him. And everybody in that town square was regretting the shit out of not leaving that day. Okay, so we see just millions of bats start to fly above the city in front of Dracula's castle, and it forms this Drac-shaped bat cloud. and he shouts to the monster horde, "Go kill everyone in the lake for Lisa. Do it for Lisa, and do it for my endless life of no love without her that I'm gonna have because of these assholes down here." Again, nitpicky, but in one scene earlier, he refers to the town or the country as Wallachia, and then when he's telling the horde to go kill everyone, he calls it Wallachia.
Oh.
Not important. Really, it's not, because everybody knows, but, you know, I'm just, like, nitpicky. Don't at me. So he lists all the cities, which I thought that one line of his was the only line that he had and delivered that was, like, kind of clunky. Everything else that he says is super clever, or it's menacing, or it's both. But that line where he's, like, listing all the cities, we're going, we don't care about the cities. There is no reason for us to remember these names.
No, it's just name dropping for the people that are fans of the games, basically, so they can, you know, nerdgasm out, you know.
Okay, okay, now I finally have my reason why he did that, because I had no idea why. I was like sitting there, not having really played the games in any meaningful way. I'm like, why are you listing all this shit? I don't care. And it came out, you know, it makes sense that it was lip service to the game fans. That makes total sense.
Yeah, there's a ton of Easter eggs throughout the series.
Oh, that's cool. You should make sure to point them out as we go. But because I don't know. I know shit about I watched the game. I watched the game get speedrun. One game get speedrun once at like 2:00 in the morning at SGDQ in Minneapolis. 3-4 years ago. Been a while. So yeah, that's what happened. So anyway, that clunky line happens, and then it's done. Thank God. Anyway, then the bats and the monsters disperse, and that's the scene. And then comes my very favorite scene of the entire episode. The next scene, we just land in a random village tavern and enter the completely unnecessary yet grossly hilarious goat sex story.
Yes.
Wow, right?
Yes.
Everybody stayed with us for the whole hour and 20 minutes that I've been going on way too long about episode 1 just to get to the goat sex story. And I'm sorry that I had to summarize it because I wish I could have just played the scene instead of summarizing, but I have to summarize because I don't have the knowledge or ability at this point in time to play the scene, and also I think that's copyright infringement. So there's this dude, this peasant, obviously very stupid man, sitting in the bar with his friend, and he's just in the absolute nastiest, most graphic, disgusting way possible that he got in trouble and had to pay a fine because he hit a guy in the face with a shovel because that guy that he hit was fucking his goat to death. Like, seriously, it's so gross, but also there's no reason for that to be there, and I love it. So
that was a big problem back then. I don't know.
Apparently. Yeah, it's like, okay, so I guess the goat fucker went blind from the shovel to the face, which Little Nicky in the movie Little Nicky didn't go blind. He just got his jaw messed up a little bit. So I'm not sure how. He must have gotten like a direct frontal hit with the shovel to go blind. But then the goat man also suggests that like the dude was fucking a goat with mange. Don't you think that might have made him go blind? And I'm like, I have no idea what mange does to people, but maybe. And also, fucking a goat probably, mange isn't the only thing you got to worry about,
right?
Especially in the 1400s. It's like, okay, so like he's moaning about how unfair it is that he has to pay the goat fucker because he blinded the goat fucker when the goat fucker was fucking his goat. Yeah, he was killing the goats with his dick, and they talk about like straw and blood on his pec, so you know
that was my favorite part.
No, like the straw and blood on his pec is like
so descriptive.
You're doing it wrong. I know. Okay, so I know a guy who is his catchphrase is like blood is a lubricant, and I'm like, okay, that's so gross, and you're a disgusting person. It's so messed up. But I'm like, and of course I thought of him when I heard that. It was like, if there's blood, you're doing it wrong, okay? And also, if you're fucking a goat, you're doing it wrong. Oh my god! And like, so this whole scene, this whole goat story, completely unnecessary. Completely, it does nothing for the plot. There's no reason for it to be there. But it was a very just cathartic experience for me of trying to hold back the barf in my throat while also laughing so hard that I peed myself a little. What the fuck was that, right?
Well, you just saw all this like carnage and violence and, you know, children being torn apart. So you get a goat fucking story after that to kind of cleanse yourself. And, you know.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. And I just like, that was the thing too. Like you're like going, oh my God, all this shit. And then just goat fucking. And you're like, what? It's so unnecessary. There's just, like I said, it does not drive the plot in any way, but it's so amazing. It's idiotic. And, you know, somebody who's more mature than me might be very offended by that story. I don't care. So the whole time we're hearing the goat fucking story, we see the camera angle kind of pans around to the other patrons a little. And we get shots of everybody that's, because there's not that many people. There's only like 2 or 3 other people in the bar besides the goat fuckers and the bartender. There's like 3 other people, I think. And 2 of them are sitting at a table behind and to the side of the goat fuckers. And then on the other side to the back is a man in a big furry cloak stuffed into a corner, like a boothy type thing, kind of. I'm not really sure. I wasn't paying attention to that part of it. I was paying attention to the goat part. So the whole time we're hearing that story, we see all these people, and we don't. There's no attention drawn to them, so there's no reason for you to remember any of their faces as they do this. But all of a sudden, this weird little freak busts into the door, and he screams, "Ale, ale! Christ, I need ale!" And I'm like, all right. Goat Man asks the guy if he's seen any attractive sheep on his trip there. I love it. Like, he is not even missing a beat. He's still exactly as disgusting as he was a second ago. So, the guy's like, I ain't got no time for that. I ain't got no time for romance, man. The horde has been spotted, and they're coming this way. So, the other patrons are like, oh, fuck. And they're not happy to hear that. And the little freaky guy says the monsters might just pass that little hamlet by, and that they're closing in on a city called Gresham. And Goat Man starts just bitching. Just goes off on a rail about how the rich old houses of Gresham totally have it coming, and especially House Belmont totally has it coming. We should have fucking killed every Belmont when we had the chance. They are the worst. Do not invite them to your birthday party. And then the camera goes to this drunk in the corner. We see the drunk in the corner that's wearing the big animal fur cloak, and he's obviously been listening to the goat fucking story the whole time. And he hears the Goat Man say that they should kill every Belmont, and the drunk kind of shrinks back and he goes, shit. End scene. That's episode 1.
Yep.
Now we get to fly through the others because I'm taking way too much time. But like episode 1, to be fair, has the most shit going on in it.
Yeah, you're basically, like you said at the beginning, there's way too much crammed into the first episode. You're basically getting Dracula's history, you know, in 24 minutes. And that was really my only big nitpicky thing about the first episode is I don't feel like you really got a chance to breathe, you know, and really take in the story between him and his wife. But it's a great opening episode, though. Overall, I think.
Yeah, overall, I think I definitely enjoyed it, but especially watching it for this and really analyzing it, I was like, yeah, there's way too much going on in this, and that's why I had to watch it 3 times to understand what the hell was going on in the subsequent episodes. So yeah, but yeah, like you said, overall, good story, good. We don't see any really serious hand-to-hand combat scenes. We don't see anything like that, so I don't have the opportunity in this episode to really get the to shit on any animated fight scenes because I'm critical of those. So yeah, any parting final thoughts about episode 1?
I don't think so. I mean, again, I was just really impressed with the amount of violence and gore that they really committed to, because that was my issue when I first saw the trailer coming. I'm like, is this actually going to be like a CW version of Dracula, or is this, going to be HBO, again, like referring to, the Spawn series that I fucking loved when I was little, with sex and blood and, fucks every other word. I mean, having the balls alone to show children getting maimed and torn apart is very impressive to me, because a lot of people, even in animation, won't, do that.
Absolutely agreed on that one. Yeah, I was stunned when I saw that for the first time. I was like, I can't believe they did that. People are usually too scared to show children even being like slapped or disciplined or anything. Like they don't want to show they don't. So that was a pretty bold move. What's bold flex? That's what the kids are saying these days, right?
Fuck if I know. They make up stupid shit. I don't know. I'm talking about kids getting, maimed and whatever, but they're dumb little shits. That's I don't
right? Those little bastards, they have their tantrums in the middle of a Walmart and you have to drive your cart and just mind your own business and pick up the groceries. I'll pop them in the ankles with my cart. I don't give a shit. Okay. We're way over time, so we better fly through these with less attention than they deserve.
Yeah, I'm blaming you. That's your fault.
I know. I was so excited about episode 1, and I went overboard, and then I was like, oh, I can't do this for all of them, or we're gonna be here all night.
Nope.
It was so sad. To be fair, episodes 2 and 3 don't got a lot going on, which is interesting. But whatever. So, episode 2 is called Necropolis. Necropolis. Necropolis.
Necropolis.
Necropolis. So, all right. The scene opens up into the same tavern that we just closed on, and Goatman's still bitching about the Belmonts and the other rich people. And he's not wrong about what we're saying, but obviously we're supposed to hate him because he's railing on the Belmonts, and the Belmonts are the main character, the main good guys in the game. So, like everybody who knows the games knows the Belmonts are the good guys. So the drunk in the corner with the big fur thing on his back gets up and he goes over to the bar and he's like, have my drink already? And Goatman sees his shirt and it's like, that's a family crest on your shirt. That's a Belmont crest. Are you a Belmont? And the drunk's like, it's just a shirt, man. But Goatman's not gonna let this go. So he's positive. He tells the drunk, I'm positive the Belmonts are responsible for this shit. The Belmonts brought the monsters to Wallachia. It's all their fault. It's all your fault. And he's like, the Belmonts are in league with the monsters. And then the drunk is like, the Belmonts fought monsters. And then he's like, oh shit, I'm supposed to not care. And so it's like, at least I've been told that. And then and then the Goatman demands the drunk's name. And then him and his buddies start beating on the drunk until he admits, I'm Trevor Belmont from House Belmont. I'm the last son of the Belmonts. Why he has to point out every time he introduces himself, he always says last son of the Belmonts for the whole first season. I don't know why, but whatever. Maybe it's another game thing. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
So obviously, big barroom brawl ensues with Trevor and Goatman and Goatman's buddy and the little freaky guy. And the bartender jumps in too.
And the bartender, yeah.
Yeah. I think that the other two people that were in there stay out of it, but Trevor is like, bruh, I fought monsters. I can fight you. I've never lost a fight for man or beast or something like that. He says something like that. He's just very posturing and he's very sure he's going to win this fight, but he's also super fucking drunk. Yep. And he gets a couple of good shots in, but overall, he does not win that fight and he gets punched in the testicles a lot. And he actually mentions it at one point. Like, please leave my testicles alone, he said. And I almost shit myself at that point. I was like, really? That might be my favorite line of the whole fucking thing. Anyway, so he bursts, like, the next scene, like, we see Goatman coming down on him with a board or something. Like, I can't remember what they hit him with, but the next second we see Trevor stumbling out the door as if he's been forcibly shoved out of the building. And the second he steps outside, he vomits. And he's got blood and shit, and he's obviously like very fucked up from the fight, but he just mumbles drunkenly about the stupid peasants and he stumbles away. And the next day, we see he's sleeping against a tree somewhere. He gets up and he's all hungover and he's groaning and moaning, and then he sees a town in the distance and realizes it's Gresham. Yay, the town that they said the monsters were at. And he's like, fuck, I gotta go into this town. I have to, because if I don't, I'll starve to death before I get to the next town. Fuck. I guess nobody wants to go in there because there's fucking monsters. And like, you can see even from the distance where we're seeing, like, this town is being fucked up. So Trevor approaches the town and you can hear and see everything. There's monsters skittering around even in the daylight. And there is a shot of a woman just shrieking while she's standing over this empty, bloody bassinet. We're supposed to say, oh, the monsters ate the baby. And like, they thankfully don't show that, but also, you know what happens. Okay, so Trevor stops to get some food and he's chatting with the townsfolk around, and some of them say there's a tribe of speakers in the city, speaker scholars in the city, and they're going to take care of everything. Some of the others say the speakers are the bad ones. They're the ones who brought the monsters, and we need to get them the fuck out. The church is going to drive them out. And still other people say, we don't care about either the church or the speakers because there's a sleeping soldier under the city and he's going to save us. Some people posit that the speakers are actually there and their presence there is making the sleeping soldier sick. And it's just all this fantasy crap and superstition that you're going, God, these people are dumb. Was everybody this dumb in the 1400s? I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on anyway. But Trevor gets the gist of what's going on in here. You know, sleeping soldier, the speakers in the church are against each other, and there's this legend of a sleeping soldier. So Trevor walks upon a conflict that he wishes he hadn't, because there's two criminals that are dressed as priests. We're supposed to think they're priests, but they're not priests. And they're harassing this old man dressed in blue robes, and they refer to him as a speaker. So he's one of these guys the church thinks is evil. They threaten him, and they're like, you were told to get the fuck out of the city by dusk, and now the sun is shining again, and you're still here. Time to die, buddy. And the old man's like, all right, you got to do what you got to do. If beating up an old guy makes you feel better. But we only came to help. We're not doing anything wrong. We're just trying to help. And these bully priests are about to just shiv the old guy. And Trevor's like, all right, fine. I didn't want to fucking do this, but I will intervene. And we see this crack and this whip flies out and back, and then a finger falls to the ground. It's super cool. And then the priest is like, and then it takes a very marked, very pregnant moment for him to go, my fucking finger, ah! And then so they have a tussle. They exchange words. He pretty easily takes down both of these priests. The one dude loses a finger, the other dude loses a freaking eye, and it splats out and against the wall with the eye sock and everything. It's super gross, and like I love that they animated that because it's animation. So after that, the old man, the speaker, thanks him for his help and invites him back to their camp. And then him and the other speakers tell him about the whole sleeping soldier thing and that they're just there to help because Dracula's night creatures are killing the whole city and the whole country. And the old guy is actually like the leader. He's the elder of the tribe. And he's like, we can't leave the city. We're trying to help. And then another speaker blurts out, we can't go because his grandchild is down in the catacombs. They went looking for the sleeping soldier and they're probably dead and we can't even bury their body. We have to bury their body. So Trevor's like, okay, the sleeping soldier thing is bullshit and you guys need to stop. But I really like you and I don't want you to die. So if I agree to go get the body of your grandkid, will you leave? And the elder speaker kind of is like, what? Okay. Like, he's obviously lying. He's like, he's not going to leave. But he agrees because that gets him the body of his kid, of the kid that he wants to bury. So from this conversation, we learn a lot about the things going on in Wallachia. And we learn that Trevor's like super fucking jaded. He cares about no one or nothing. He just wants to drink himself to death. Like, I don't have a lot of criticism for this whole conversation. It's like half the episode, and it gives you plenty of information that makes some of the shit. It makes some of the shit in the first episode make more sense, and it makes Trevor make a lot of sense. and that I love that we get to know that he's a jaded drunk. Before we learn that he's also an integral man. And then he's like, he really wants him to leave, so they agree to this plan, and that's it for season 2. Like, that's it. That's it. Like, the whole fucking story is just, like I said, it's half the episode is just them, the speakers, talking to Trevor. They recognize him. They said the Belmonts were monster fighters, la la la. So they know who he is. He knows who speakers are. So, any notes on that on episode 2?
The only thing that I really wrote down, for some reason it stuck with me, is when Trevor's first trying to get into Greshit, he climbs through basically a sewer pipe. And that's not the part I had a problem with. What I had a problem with, because that's fine, that's funny. But what I had a problem with is when he gets to the other side of it, there's one fucking guard there, and he's asleep. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, he's the only fucking guard that's there. Why do they even fucking have them? If these monsters have been terrorizing this fucking town, what the fuck is the point of even having them? Like, I felt like it was like, I made up like a background story for this poor son of a bitch. Like, it was his first day on the job, and these monsters came in and killed his whole platoon, and he's the last, surviving guardsman of Shittown, basically. And I don't know why. It just fucking stood out to me. Because, like, no, there's no other fucking guards there. He's the only one.
I agree. And yeah, like you said, he's fucking asleep. And, I mean, I guess props to him for not giving a shit, because this town is up in flames anyway, so who cares? It ties nicely with the thing about a thing that I think it's a conversation that happens in the next episode. So it ties the fact that this guard doesn't give a shit because this town is crumbling around him. Well, I assume that's why he doesn't give a shit. But yeah, like that ties in with this conversation that happens in the next episode. So
yeah, but that's really all I had, because you're right. There really isn't much that happens in that episode, and unfortunately, as we progress through the series, we're going to find that that's a very common thing. There are extremely heavy dialogue episodes.
Low action, like that. Even that fight scene with the priests and him saving the speaker. Not really that action. Like they don't get any shots in. They don't get up close. He cracks his whip a couple times and they're down. Yeah. There's no like I said, I'm waiting for the first really good fight scene, because so far these have been kind of weak teeth.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, like good nitpick, because there's just not that much going on in this episode. It seemed like there is when you're just sitting there watching it, but when you actually take notes on it, that's it. Yeah. I would have to make my synopsis of that episode be as long as the one for the first episode where everything's going on. I would have had to just type out the entire conversation, just script it like a courtroom.
Yeah, exactly.
The typist that's recording the conversation. So, episode 3 is called Labyrinth. For foreshadowing there. So we open with Trevor marching up to the church's crypt, I think. And because there's like gravestones around it, and it's got a cross on the top. So, and obviously that's always where the entrance to secret underground labyrinth maze. What are they called? The caravan, the cavern below, like the catacombs. That's the word I was after.
Oh,
yeah, like secret catacombs. Like the opening, the doorway in there is always in the crypt where the dead people. So. He goes down in under the underground stuff. He's making observations and talking to himself like a crazy person, but he has to, because if he didn't, we wouldn't know what was going on. We wouldn't know
exactly
all the reasons why we should be paying attention, because he notes that there's fresh oil for the lamps down there, and that the pipes that are bolted to the walls are warm, and he can feel stuff running through them. And he's like, okay, this place is supposed to have been abandoned for hundreds of years, so that's pretty sus. And as he's walking, he hears these creaks and groans and stuff, and he decides that there's somebody skulking around in here, and he's like, I can hear you, come out. wherever you are. So he steps on a weak spot in the floor. Take note of this because it's going to happen a fucking lot. He falls through the floor to the next level of the cavern below. He sees, and then like he lands on his feet, and he's pretty smug about that. He's like, reflexes like a cat. And then I thought it was hilarious. It's like, I think he might be a little drunk at this point. He must have gone and grabbed a couple of drinks before he went into the catacombs. So he sees a very gory scene in front of him, but it's weird because all the gory stuff is all stone statues. So there's like stone statues of headless people, stone statues of eviscerated people, because of course there's eviscerated people. And he sees one statue that he notes is completely intact and shaped suspiciously like a speaker. So he's examining that statue when he suddenly sees, or suddenly is alerted to what has made all these statues, and shouts, "Stone Eye Cyclops!" And then he utters what is probably my favorite quote of the whole season 1: "God shits in my dinner once again." He says it so much better than I could. So, fight scene with the Cyclops. Lots of action, not a bad fight scene, but again, no up close melee, so we don't get to I don't get to really analyze and criticize the hand-to-hand combat like I like to do, because it's not really. Trevor's jumping up on rocks and bouncing off of pillars and stuff to get this guy, and finally kills him. And when the Cyclops falls, all the statues turn back into people, like with a big flash of magic. He catches the speaker statue just as it turns back into, surprise, a young woman who promptly vomits on his shoes. And I guess that's what happens when you turn into a statue. I don't know. Never been turned into a statue. So she must have been alert through the entire statue thing, because she yelled at Trevor for stepping on her while he was fighting the Cyclops, and she was a statue. She yells at it. He's like dismissive. He's like, "Did you step on me?" And he's like, "A bit." Like, it's so nonchalant. It's awesome. I was like, I like Trevor's delivery. I between him and Dracula, I think I don't have like, those are the two voice actors and characters who I think deliver their lines almost perfectly throughout the whole thing. Yeah. And he's like, his curses are really well placed, I think, and just good.
Yeah.
So I just fucking love Trevor. Trevor is my favorite because of what a kind of a dick. He's a dick, but he's still a good guy, so you can't hate him. So she is like pissed off, and she's like, "Who are you? Why are you down here?" And he says, "I'm Trevor Belmont." And she immediately recognizes the name, and she's like, "How can you be the way that you are? You're a Belmont, and you fight monsters." And he's like, "I made this promise, and we need to get you back to your tribe because your grandfather thinks that you're dead, and he will not leave the city until you go back to them." So she's like, "Oh, well, we better go then, because I'm sorry that I did that to my grandpa." And then this is like, I fucking love Trevor, because she goes, "I'm Sypha Belnades," and he's like, "I don't care.
I don't care." That's the best.
He's walking away, and I don't care.
I don't care.
So yeah, they get back to the speaker tribe. Like, the next scene is just they're back at the speaker tribe, and Sypha busts through the door and hugs her grandpa, and then have a tearful reunion. Blah blah blah. Trevor and Sypha end up arguing about the sleeping soldier and whether or not he exists. And Sypha's like, "It's true, because the speaker's stories say so." And Trevor's like, "Those catacombs, everything that I saw there was a perfect match to my grandfather's journal descriptions of Dracula's castle, of the inside of Dracula's castle. So you guys need to stay the fuck out of there." And he's like, and Trevor's like, "We had an agreement too. You guys need to be gone by sunset so that the church doesn't kill you. The church people don't kill you. The church bullies, thieves, bad guys." There's a word, and it's right there, and it's been there for hours, and I can't make it come to the forefront of my brain.
I can't help you because I'm making sure my cat doesn't knock over the laptop right now. So
you sit down. Fucking cats. Okay, so the elder hesitates, and he's like, "Well, yeah, of course I'm gonna go. That's what we agreed to." And like, obviously, like, if it wasn't enough the last episode, obviously he's not going to go. He doesn't plan any plans to go. Trevor has a run-in with one of the bully priests, and right after he steps out and leaves the speakers, and the bully priest is like, the bishop wants to see you. Trevor's like, I can't go into a church, I'm excommunicated. And the bishop's like, or the bully priest is like, the bishop said that you can make an exception for this one time because I want like he's a powerful guy and he wants to talk to you. And Trevor's like, ah, shit. So he can't get out of it if he goes. They sent 5 bully priests after this.
5.
To win Trevor. 5 priests to bring him back. So I guess the others were convinced by the whole guy coming back without his eyeball and stuff.
Had to get their priest posse, together.
No, it's like we need to send more than 2 guys for this one because he's the big one. Especially when he's sober, but maybe even more so when he's just slightly drunk. Seems to be a better fighter when he's slightly drunk.
Yes.
Okay, so the bishop, surprise, it's the same fuckwad who killed Lisa Tepesh. He very conveniently explains without really any provocation, like it was just a very mild suggestion from Trevor that he could have totally ignored, but he explains that the Archbishop of Targa sent him to Greshit right after Lisa's death because they disagreed about matters of clerical discipline, which means the Archbishop was embezzling a lot and the bishop had opinions about how much and how they were doing it, and they disagreed. Like, that's obviously they were committing crimes, unchurchy crimes and against the church, and they disagreed about it, and the Archbishop just was like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna separate us because I'm boss. You do what I say. So, and like he just, like I said, he was almost completely unprompted, and he just volunteered this story up. He did not have to do that, but we wouldn't know why he was in Greshit without it, I guess. Not that
mattered,
but like it doesn't matter. It was a year and something later. So anyway, the bishop and Trevor go back and forth about the night creature thing, and the bishop is like, if you leave at sundown, I'll let you live, but I'm gonna have you gutted like a pig if you do not get the fuck out of here by sundown. And Trevor is like, get fucked, dude. And then he goads the bishop into telling him his plan to kill the speakers as a sacrifice, I guess, to get the night creatures to leave him alone. And he's like, I'm gonna murder the shit out of those speakers, and if you don't get out by sundown, I'm gonna murder you too. And so at the end of the exchange, we are well aware of the power hunger of the bishop. He's like, all the other big cities are gone. Targa Vista's gone. Greshit's the only city still standing. I'm in charge. And so he was a psycho. So Trevor goes back to the speaker camp and he tells them that they need to get the hell out now. Do not wait, because the bishop is going to have them all killed well before sundown, like he promised. And the elder argues that the town still needs them. They can't go. And Trevor's like, it doesn't matter. You're all going to die. And they go back and forth in this argument until the elder says, the Belmonts were noble and they stood up to evil even when the church turned against them. How can you do this? Trevor, you're resigned to your fate. How can you be this way? And just scolds him for not being the man that he used to be, because people never change. What? So Trevor kind of sighs and droops his shoulders and is like, we are leaving right now. And then he walks towards the camera view with a menacing kind of big shoulder thing happening, and the lights behind him, so it looks even more menacing. And then the scene cuts away. Next scene, it's dusk. We see the night creatures start to rouse from their slumber, and they're gonna go embark soon on their nightly baby murders. And there's also an angry mob of humans outside the speaker's camp, and they break down the door and they find nobody but Trevor standing alone in the little shack. The bully priests bust through and they're like, where are they? And Trevor's like, go fuck yourself. I'm not telling you that. And the priests try to bully him and coerce him and insult him into telling him where the speakers are, but he's not going to do that because he's Trevor Belmont. He says it a lot. Oh, I'm Trevor Belmont. And it's that's his big power pose line. So then we get this big noble speech from Trevor about he's regained his entire sense of purpose in his life, and he's proud to be a Belmont, and he's not afraid to die, and he's going to fight you. And they're like, the priests are all, cool, buddy, we're going to stabby stab now. And Trevor's way too good. Even when he didn't care, he was way too good a fighter for these guys. And now that he does care, he's like into it. You got Trevor at his A game now. And Trevor takes down the priests that are inside the shack, and then he busts through the door, runs through the roads of the village, and he's just leading the mob on a chase. And he is eventually kind of cornered, and they start getting him, and things are looking a little bit dicey for him. And then the view kind of pans out, and we see the monsters that are starting to finally swoop in. Mm-hmm. That's the episode. Again, so much going on in episode 1. Not tons going on in episode 2 or 3.
Yeah, exactly. And like we said in the last episode, it's just, again, it's very dialogue heavy. The only thing I'll say is this time I do think the dialogue is a little more interesting because you do get your background of Trevor Belmont a little bit more and the Belmont family and who he is. If you're not somebody who's familiar with the games, I think it's a good good informational episode. You do have the Cyclops fight, which was pretty cool, but again, not much really happened in that one either.
Yeah. I think that I kind of got a little bit foggy and zony because I started to with my notes. Like I was like, there's stuff happening, but there's nothing happening. Like I was just notes constant with that first episode, and I was like, I feel like I'm not catching something because I'm not writing stuff, and I was writing constantly for the episode 1. So like, what's going on here? Mm-hmm. The Cyclops fight. The Cyclops fight didn't happen yet, or it happened in the last one.
That was episode 3.
Oh, was it? Okay. Yeah. Being confused here, but that was pretty good. It was plenty of action. Too short for the amount of action. Like I would have liked to see more action, just because now that I know that not a lot is even actually going on here. So a little more is going on than in episode 2, but I don't have a ton of criticism because it's just my criticism is like you said, there's just not that much happening. Yeah. But we do get a lot of backstory, and this whole universe is just soaked in lore and legend and story. There's just a lot going on. So for the purposes of this universe, I think that having a lot of backstory is important. So I guess I can help them for that. Episode 4. Finally, we're almost done. It's called Monument, and it opens to a wide shot of the setting sun, and the mobs are roving the city, searching for Trevor and searching for the speakers. And they're all shouting shit like witchcraft, magic, and they're freaking out, and they're gonna kill him. Because magic is an excuse to kill people. I don't know. Whatever. So the scene switches to the bishop quietly standing at his pulpit in the church, and it's just bathed in this creepy red light from the setting sun, but it's like really it's like supernatural red. It's not normal red light from a normal setting sun. So obviously we're like, oh, shit's gonna go down. The bishop hears the doors open and close, and then he hears these thudding footsteps, and he's like, hey, did you guys kill those speakers yet? And this very demonic voice goes, no. and the bishop, this fucking moron, is like, oh, well, get out there and get it done. Don't come back until you did. And I'm like, do you really think that voice came from one of your guys, or a person at all, like a human at all? You fucking idiot. So but just as he's about to get really pissed off and shout at them to berate them, the owner of the voice steps into the light, and it's a horrible night monster with 6 eyes and big old teeth and bones, ribs and shit sticking out. He's a super gross monster. We're supposed to be super creeped out by him. And the monster, so the bishop says, you can't come in here. This is the house of God. And the monster's like, God doesn't live here. This is just an empty shell. God. Yeah,
that was awesome.
That was I think that the monster speech is good, and I'm sorry I have to paraphrase it because it's a better speech. Steven says best scene of season 1 is the demon doing God's work. Absolutely agree. Totally agree. There's only one part of it that I was kind of like, eh, and it was just more of because of the dialogue, and I'll get to that in a second. So, okay, the speech, paraphrasing the speech, God doesn't love you because you're a bad person. You lie, you cheat, you steal, you kill. You're a bad person. God doesn't love you. And then he goes, but I love you. Let me. And he goes,
Yeah.
let me kiss you. And I was like, ugh, that's my part. That's my ugh part. It's like, let me kiss you. And I was like, oh, it's so creepy. And it works. It fucking works. Like that is like, I'm like, ugh, but it works. Like I don't have a criticism for that. Exactly. It's just like, I was just like, personally for me, I was like, ugh. Don't tell me that you're going to kiss me. Okay. Especially when you're a fucking monster with 6 eyes and big giant fangs. So, the view of the camera angle switches, like pans down quickly to the bishop's dangling feet because the monster has lifted him off the ground. And then we hear like crunching and gushing, and then blood falls down over his feet onto the floor, and the monster's obviously eating the bishop. I'm like, fucking yes, good riddance, bitch.
Yeah.
But I was kind of hoping that he had to suffer a little more before he died because he's such a bad guy. And he was like the major instigator for the whole thing that happens in the first 2 seasons. So what the hell, right? Like that was it. We didn't even get to see it. Come on. And I thought it was an excellent touch. Steven probably agrees here. Let me know if you do. Excellent touch to actually go into the church. The demon goes into the church and kills him in the church and causes that. Like, oh.
Yeah. Exactly.
And Steven says, I like that the demon never denies God is real and exists, just merely that he's not present in the church. Yep. Exactly. And he did also the demon says your God does not love you, suggesting that there are many gods. Because and this is that'll tie in with a little nitpick I have in a minute. So okay, so Bishop's dead, bad guy's dead, cool. But this war is not over. Not by a long shot. We get back to the scene goes back to the mobs chasing Trevor, and they're looking for the speakers. And Trevor gets surrounded, and he's just about to go, oh fuck, I'm in trouble. And then this massive wall of fires encircles Trevor and blocks separates him from the crowd, the mob. And suddenly Sypha, poof, up at the rooftop nearby, and we see she's a fucking magician. She just made a wall of fire. And the Ring of Fire! So the townspeople are like, she's a witch! And Sypha's like, I'm not a witch, you moron! I'm a good guy, I'm a magician, I'm just a scholar of magic. Magic isn't evil, you morons! Yeah, this is like so polite about it, but obviously she's very frustrated with these ignorant townsfolk. So she then carves a path in fire for Trevor to walk away safely from these guys. So that is the point we referred to in the first before when we were talking about the synopsis of the whole season of the whole series. That Sypha saves his ass so many times. Yeah. That's the first time she saves his ass. Mm-hmm. She like seriously saves his ass because he totally would have gotten in the shit. Because there was like 20 people around him and more waiting in the wings. Like he was not going to win that fight. He's really strong and he could have taken down a lot of them, but he wouldn't have won. So Sypha frees Trevor, but Trevor's walking by and he sees that big bully priest. I think it was the one with the finger, missed the one that he snapped off of. Doesn't even matter because the point is he looks at me and goes, you did this. You riled up this crowd of completely innocent people. You coerced and tricked them into murdering innocent people for you and for the church so that you didn't have to get your hands dirty doing this. And then he's like, that's an interesting knife you've got there. That looks like a thieves' knife. Why would you have... I wonder if these townsfolk have ever seen a priest draw a knife on a person. And then the people are all like, oh, shit, that's a good point. Why do you have a knife? It's obviously not, for protection from the monsters or from like thieves when they're traveling or anything like that. Because why would you need a protection from thieves in the town? And that knife is way too small to hurt any of those monsters. So, like, why do you have that knife, buddy? So he challenges the bully priest to a fight, and obviously this guy does not want to fight Trevor because he saw what this guy can do, and so he gives this weak tea excuse, but he's just doing what the bishop asked him to do. And Trevor's like, no, fuck that. The bishop started all this shit. He killed Lisa Tepesh, and this is why Dracula has declared war on the entire country. and the people there, the humans specifically. Trevor continues that the priest and the bishop want to trick all the people into killing the speakers and killing Trevor, simply so, specifically so that they don't have to do it, and then they can say, I didn't do anything, I'm innocent. And one of the townspeople is like, that's it, I've had enough, and he runs up and he spears the big bully priest. And I'm like, holy shit. I was genuinely surprised by that moment. It wasn't like a jump scare.
Yeah.
It was just like, he did what he was trying to get that to happen, trying to get the townspeople to turn on the priest, but like I didn't think they were gonna kill the guy. And then like then the other townspeople are like, yeah, and they all start going and stabbing this dude, and he is super dead. And they're gonna have like a priest stabbing party, and just as that is about to commence, the night creatures signal their arrival with this huge explosion of fire off in the corner of the town, and then the shrieks and howling and stuff. And so since Trevor's the only one that knows about these monsters, knows how to fight them, he starts shouting instructions about get the pikes in front and dip your swords in salt and get some holy water consecrated by a real priest. And they listen to him because they've seen him fight now, so they know he's not shitting them. So they wall in the first surge of monsters. Sypha walls them in with ice, and they successfully battle them off. One of the weapons that they use is that holy water blessed by a priest who was ordained in the Christian church. And I wonder, why does the Christian holy water kill the hell beast if we've already acknowledged that the demon said you're God, so that so he's insinuating that there's more than one God, and that's not the only religion out there. So why does holy water kill all of them, all the beasts? Shouldn't it kill the whole beasts that used to be Christians in their past lives?
I just figure it's because they're demons from hell, basically, and
so maybe any kind of holy artifact from any religion would do the job.
Typically, I think so. Yeah.
Maybe that's all it is. Maybe like holy oil. I think there's holy oil in the Jewish religion, and then I don't know anything about like Buddhism and Hinduism, but like if you have, maybe throw a cow at them, they'll explode. I don't know. Cows are important to India. I don't know why. I don't understand any of it. I'm just a stupid colonizer, but I know that cows are important, and maybe if they threw one at the monsters, it would kill the monsters. I don't know. Leave me alone. We're almost done here, okay? So, so they kill all the monsters. The last monster runs for Trevor, but Sypha spears him and traps him in this ice cage thing, and he's trying to posture, to posture and being all, there's an army of us, you can't kill us all, there's an army, and he's in the middle of saying there's an army of us, and Trevor uses his whip to like split his face in half and explode him, and I was like, dude, you broke him in the middle of his big ending speech, what are you doing? His famous last words? Come on. Right in the middle. So, just then, you guessed it, convenient floor collapsing. Trevor and Sypha boom down into the catacombs, fall like 800 million miles below the ground, the surface, and somehow they don't die, they don't get seriously injured, they don't even get scratched up.
No, this was my nitpicky thing from that episode, because they fall like 20 fucking times, first of all. And I almost timed it. It's 3 minutes of them falling. And when I say 3 minutes, it doesn't sound like a long time, but when you're sitting there watching it, it's ridiculous. I'm like, holy shit, like how much did they have to stretch out the runtime for this fucking episode? It was ridiculous. I'm looking at my cat like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I got time to take a shit. Like, it was absolutely unnecessary. But that was my guess, in all seriousness, is they had all the shit that they had to pack into the first episode. And then you have the dialogue heavy episodes of 2 and 3. And then you got to get to the end of 4. And they had, I mean, again, it's only 4 episodes, but they had to stretch out as much as they could. I mean, I think you said at the beginning, episode 1 could have been like a 2-parter. Or it could have been the whole first.
Yeah, if they would have separated it a little more intuitively, then they would have had an appropriate amount of action in all 4 episodes.
Yeah. Exactly.
And
It could have been because this was the first season and they were seeing what stuck and what didn't, and whatever, I don't know. But that, yeah, that was ridiculous. They kept falling, and there was no dialogue really between the two of them either when it was happening.
yeah, like
Which,
there's a point at which even Trevor's like, Jesus Christ, are you fucking kidding me? Like even
yeah,
he's like, the falling stuff is bullshit.
yeah. So it made it especially awkward, I think, to watch as a viewer. Like, if
Agreed.
I was sitting there watching that with somebody, like I would have looked to them and been like, "I'm sorry, I don't know what the fuck is going on right now." Which,
Agreed, for sure. And I definitely what you said about they didn't know that this was the first season. They didn't know if it was going to be popular. They didn't know they had probably a very small budget.
right.
That's obviously why there aren't any good fight scenes until the end, which we're coming up on now. No good fight scenes because fight scenes are expensive to animate. To animate well, I should say.
Right.
So and that's probably also why we don't get a lot of action in any form, fighting or otherwise, simply because budget. And like you said, they just didn't know how. They had to do the best they could with what they had, and they didn't know if this was going to take off. Thankfully it did. I don't know what I would have done with several hours of my time yesterday if it had. I would have had to like take a nap or play some video games or something. Back to the story. Alrighty. So, convenient floor trick. Sypha and Trevor fall a billion miles and they don't get hurt. They see, as they're falling, they see big views and there's other machines trying to kill them, but somehow they manage to escape. The floor collapses again. The fucking floors. Where are these floors? And why haven't these floors collapsed until convenient heroes are standing on them? Like, why haven't they collapsed until now? There was no structural integrity issues on the top ground, above ground, until Sypha and Trevor were standing up there. So what the fuck? So anyway, Sypha and Trevor fall their way through these deep catacombs. They're getting almost killed several times. Like I said, at one point, Trevor's like, "Oh Christ's sake," he says, when he's a beam that he's trying to climb on breaks. Like even he sees how ridiculous this scene is with all the falling. So they fall through another floor and they find themselves in a conspicuously familiar looking vast foyer, only instead of a imperial stairwell, there is a very fancy metal coffin just sitting in the middle of nothing there.
Yeah.
They walk carefully towards it, but Trevor's not being careful enough because he steps on a button in the floor and it makes the coffin rise up, and then floating Messiah looking dude floats out of the coffin, which, obviously the coffin opens up, and floating Messiah, naked from the waist up, very slender man, naked from the waist up, has some really fucking cool pants. I wish I could pull those pants off. Ooh. Literally and figuratively, I wish I could pull off wearing pants like that. I don't want to pull his pants off yet because I don't know him. So, but we see his beautiful glowing blonde locks, beautiful flowing blonde locks that are in fact also glowing. We don't see his face yet because his head's down and his hair's covering, but we see he's like, it's very messianistic, very alluding to Jesus. I'm sure it pissed off. I wrote in my notes here, if Ted Cruz watched it, he would definitely be pissed. Like, they are like, they're like making some major comparisons to Jesus with this particular bit of the scene. So, and what's he doing in Gresham? Why is he in Gresham? What's so special about Gresham? Do we learn that? I don't think we learned that at any point in the first two seasons. Why is Gresham where the sleeping soldier is?
I forget, honestly. Yeah. I'm past my bedtime.
Yeah, so we'll have 2 weeks. 2 weeks to plan the next episode better, so that sorry again, guys, if you are sticking through us. Bless your hearts, because I did not, like I said, we just didn't have enough time to plan this episode, and now we're gonna learn from our mistakes and we're gonna do better next time. But also, so Blondie floats into the light, and we see that he's all scarred up on his chest from his big scratch fight with Drax. Because obviously we know that's this guy. We still don't see his face because it's covered by his gorgeous hair. He says to Sypha and Trevor, "Why are you here?" Not "who are you" or anything like that, but "why are you here?" And he let's see. Sypha says, I think you're the sleeping soldier, and I've come to get you, come to retrieve you for the cause. And Trevor is like, Blondie says, and you? Do you think I'm a messiah? And Trevor's like a sarcastic asshole, and he goes, I fell down a hole. You sure as fuck did, man. You fell down many holes for 3 minutes, apparently. So, Sypha tells Blondie that Dracula released his horde of demons upon Wallachia, and they need his help. Blondie says to Trevor, do you believe that? And Trevor's like, dude, that's not a belief. That's a fact. The horde is there. And Trevor's like, oh, you mean, do I think you're the sleeping soldier? That you're a sleeping Jesus? No, obviously not, dumbass. You're a vampire. I can see that, and I kill vampires. And Blondie, we get a close-up of his face, finally, well, just this part of his face. And then we see he smiles, and we see he's got fangs, so maybe Trevor's right. At this point, we have no reason to doubt Trevor, but Trevor asks Blondie if he and Sypha woke up the man who is going to kill Dracula, or did they wake up Dracula himself? Because Trevor was like, nobody's seen Dracula and lived to tell the tale, so we don't know what he looks like. And it turns out that's not entirely true, but the people that have seen him didn't know that he was Dracula, I guess. So Blondie recognizes the name Belmont when Trevor tells him his name, and they have a bonding moment about all the supernatural life stuff. And Trevor admits that he didn't care about Dracula destroying Wallachia, but now he does, and he wants it to stop, so I'm probably going to have to kill you. Sorry, bro. And Sypha is like, no, you can't. He's the sleeping soldier. But Trevor's going to kill Blondie. So Trevor starts to poke holes in the whole sleeping soldier hypothesis, too, to try and get Sypha on his side of the argument, because Sypha's no intentions of fighting. She's just standing by and going, you can't do this. Trevor calls Blondie floating vampire Jesus, which I fucking love.
That's the best. That's still my favorite line in the whole first season.
I did mention my 3 favorites in here. That one is my 3rd favorite. But I think number 1 is still God shits in my dinner. So Sypha is protesting the whole time, but of course, Blondie and Trevor start to fight, and we get our first real up close fight. And even then, it's not a great fight. There's a lot of views of just Trevor going like this, and I'm like, this is not an interesting shot. Okay, stop it. Go back. Like his head is totally stationary, and his hand is going like this. And I'm like, it's not a great fight. But in respect to the other fights that we see in the season 1, it's all right. And it has its very good parts too.
As I would have to disagree with that as, again, somebody who's played the games, because here's where you finally see, I'll just call him Blondie until we reveal who he is. You see his powers and his moves and things that he does in the game, and they're represented very well and animated very well in this series. I mean, I had a whole bunch of like nerd moments during that fight, just from some sort of particular like moves that he did, and Trevor himself too. I mean, Trevor is known for the whip is his thing, that's his weapon of choice. So seeing them two fight was very, very cool to me. But you can shit on it if you want to. That's cool.
Well, now that you're saying all that, I'm like, I bet I would have a much stronger appreciation for it had I been more into the games, had I been able to get more into the games, because I just want to make everybody aware that I never played the games, not because I didn't want to, but because my parents are very bad parents and they wouldn't let me have a game system when I was a kid.
That blows.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm like playing Mortal Kombat when I'm like, 10 years old and ripping people's heads off, and that sucks. Oh well.
And then like aunt, I think, gave my baby brother a PlayStation, like an original PlayStation, and my mom's like, yeah, you can keep it, put it in your room. She didn't even make him put it in the family room. Just put it in your bedroom. What? Clearly we know who your favorite kid is. I thought you didn't favorite mom. So the first thing I did when I got out on my own after I moved out of my parents' house and became a real adult was buy a fucking Super Nintendo off eBay.
Hell yeah.
what I fucking did, and now I have 2 of them. So. Anyway, okay, so the big boss fight. Like, I think that the animation could have been done better, and I think that I probably would have appreciated, without being familiar with the games, I would have appreciated some of those moves a lot more if the animation had been a little bit more fluid.
Mm-hmm.
But I respect it, and I will give more credit in the future to that fight because of you're saying it's a throwback to the game series.
Yeah, definitely.
And also it's the boss fight, like it's the end fight of the series. So because we're almost to the end of the episode at this point, and it's the last episode, and they have to throw a big finish on it, of course. There's a moment actually when Trevor very conspicuously tries to knee Blondie in the balls, and Blondie's like, please, this isn't a bar fight, have some class.
Oh my god.
And like he reacts in no fucking way to the knee to the balls. Like he does not react to that at all. It does not hurt.
And that bothered me, though. That totally bothered me, because in this universe we know that the vampires can have sex. I mean, they, I don't know. Does he have this like vampire like cock that just doesn't feel like pain? Like, what are his testicles made out of? Is it like it bothered me. Like, even if it was like one of those like anime like gasps, they're like, oh, when they do that shit.
Yeah.
Something.
He doesn't move. Like Trevor might as well have been kicking a wall. Like he doesn't react in any way, physically or emotionally. It's not.
It was just, I don't know. It was weird. But then I also had a problem where I thought I know it was done for laughs, and I admit I laughed. I mean, that was pretty. I didn't expect that to happen at all. But at the same time, I'm like, I almost felt like it was almost like Halloween Resurrection when Busta Rhymes kicks Michael Myers in the balls and then does this like Eddie Guerrero like from Tekken capoeira shit like on him. And I'm like, come on, it's Michael Myers. Like, you can't do that to him. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, it's, Blondie. Like, you can't do that to him. He's, he's a fucking powerful dude.
It was such a cheap, like, Blondie even comments like, have some class.
Yeah, exactly.
Even he gets it.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, we are very close to the end, guys. If you're still here with us, bear with me. And like, Steven, bless your heart for hanging out for the whole thing, because I am aware that this probably has gotten super boring by this point. So, okay. Blondie knocks Trevor down and then rushes over to and hovers over him, and he's like, I'm gonna kill you now. And Trevor reveals that Blondie's like, I could kill you right now, and Trevor's like, oh, but you're coming with me. And then he looks down, and then Blondie looks down, and Trevor's got his knife right in Blondie's chest, like right where his heart would be, I guess, if that's how you can kill a vampire. And so Blondie is like, but I can still kill you. You'll still be dead. And Trevor's like, that's not the point. Killing you is the point. So if I die, that's cool. But if I live, that's just a bonus, as long as you're dead. And Blondie thinks that's hilarious. Laughs very, very heartily, like big, like throws back his head and just really gets a good laugh at that. So before they can get any farther into this fight, Sypha intervenes. And she's got her little fire thing, she's got like a hot little tiny fireball that's obviously white hot at this point. And she's like, I will crispy fry you if you don't back the fuck away from Trevor. And Blondie's like, but I thought I was your Jesus. And Sypha's like, yeah, so did I, but I don't care because this dude saved my life and I'm not going to let you kill him. And so to that, Blondie steps away and he's like, you'll do. And we're like, what? You'll do? What? And Sypha and Trevor are like, what? And Blondie's like, okay, so the prophecy, you clearly don't know the whole prophecy, because my side of the prophecy is that I will need the help of a hunter and a scholar to kill Dracula. And Sypha, you're a speaker, so you're a scholar. And Trevor, you kill vampires, so you're a hunter. You'll do. and that's what he meant by you'll do. So he introduces himself. I am Adrian Tepesh. So, big reveal. Adrian Tepesh, as if everybody didn't already know who it was. So the Wallachian story refers to him as Alucard, not Adrian Tepesh. Apparently they don't know. I don't know if the Wallachian, whoever invented the Wallachian legend, doesn't really get the connection between Alucard and Dracula. Like he gets that Alucard is the anti-Dracula, obviously, that they call him Alucard, but he doesn't know that they're father and son, I guess, because he tells Sypha and Trevor as much. He's like, Dracula's my father. I love him, but he's got to die because he's beyond saving at this point. He's got to go, or Wallachia will die, and that's what my mother would have wanted. That's what Lisa would have wanted.
Right.
And so then Alucard puts on his shirt. He gets his magic sword, which fucking he just like looks at it and it just flies back in. And I was like, I want a sword like that. I want a magic sword that goes back into its piece, like does all my fighting for me and shit. Oh. And then and so Adrian grabs his coat and he's like, let's go. And they are walking out, and that's the end of the scene. That's the end of the season. And it was such a good ending too. Like that was such a big climactic fight. And then they're like, oh wait, whoa, we're all friends. Come on, let's go save the world. So it was a very good ending, I thought. And overall, extremely favorable view of the entire season, especially given 4 episodes, and they had to cram a lot into it. They crammed a lot into episode 1. They did a good job, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
We nitpicked throughout, but so do you have any leftover comments on the 4th episode?
No. I mean, overall, like we said from the beginning, I would have liked more episodes to flesh out things a little bit more. But it was a good introduction, I'll say, to the series, and you know what pretty much to expect for the rest of the series. So if you didn't like the first 4 episodes, you're not going to like the rest of the series, you know.
Right.
But I mean, again,
like the episodes are only like 25 minutes long, so like you're not investing a ton of time into it to decide.
Yeah, that too.
So that's awesome. So that part about it's good. The downside is that it was only 4 episodes, 4 pretty damn good episodes. So bummer. So any like random observations that you have, or just like I was like my only random observation throughout the whole thing was that holy water thing. Like, will the holy water kill a Hindu demon? Like, does Hindu artifacts kill the demon? Like, I don't understand how that would work.
I don't know. We probably have to ask Dean and Sam. They probably know.
They're gone. I didn't watch the second half of the last season of that, so no spoilies.
Oh God, I stopped at season 5. I don't give a shit. It should have ended at season 5.
It started to very much suck after a while, and it was like really boring. But I did. Yeah. That's a different show. We can't talk about that show that much. So next time we have 2 whole weeks to prepare our show for next time. So it's going to be better, I promise. It looks like only 3 people are watching, and 2 of them might be Steven. I don't know, but Steven is great. He's a great fan, great guy. So next episode of Critical Appreciation is going to be Castlevania Season 2. There are 8 episodes, so I'm going to have to do a much better job of condensing my synopses, and I'll work on that. And I hope that since we'll have more notice on that episode, that there will be more people. Let me double check, make sure that Big Boss Lady doesn't have anything to say about Elsewhere 2, if you weren't here at the beginning, Elsewhere 2 is coming. We're there. We're getting it looks like she's packing them up next week, so they're coming soon. And a little birdie told me that there might be a really fun mini Kickstarter coming up in the very near future. So stay tuned for that. thanks for sticking with us the whole time, Steven. And whoever might still be with us, because I can only see how many are watching, but not who's watching. So, and please give us another chance. Give us a chance of all 4 episodes and come back next time in 2 weeks for Castlevania Season 2, where we're gonna nitpick that one too, and hopefully take less time so that Julie can get to bed on time. And also thank you, Julie, for coming and being critical about a show that we both love with me.
It was awesome. Thank you.
So, yeah, I think that's all I have for you guys tonight. So, have a wonderful evening, very late evening. Thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for sticking with us, Steven. Good night. Good night.
Good night.